And away we go. All right, let's see. Hey, there I am. How are you? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. It's almost like normal America again. Mass shootings, people freaking out about the border. It feels like the last 4 years just never happened. Welcome, and I hope everybody's doing well. I've got to open up my chat rooms. I'm a little behind on doing that because I was on Stuttering John's show, and that just we tend to get chatting, and it just stays that way. It becomes a big hangout. Hi, everybody. Hello. There, I see you now. Now I can see the chat. My Tuesday is going pretty well so far. As we go, but we'll see. We're gonna try and make the most of this. Good God, we're gonna make the most of this. This Tuesday. We're going to turn this Tuesday into something. So today, regular show. Wednesday, regular show. Thursday, regular latest show. And then Friday, I'll be doing my show from the San Francisco area, Alameda. And I have to obviously finish earlier because I got it. My show this week is 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. In San Francisco. So Friday show will probably just be like an hour. 3 to 4, that kind of thing, me, which means 4:30. If I set a limit for myself, that just add a half hour and call it a day. And then the regular Saturday show will be on because I have 2 shows that night. So it's going to be a heavy workload this weekend. Two comedy shows, count them 2 live comedy shows at the Alameda Comedy Club. And they do a thing called Cinemaplex. It's outdoor, it's heated, and they stream it. So if you guys want to watch, there's 4 shows this weekend, I think. So there you go. I believe I am flying into Oakland, although decisions are still being made. But, Jip, yeah. Oh, thanks, Jenny. So, welcome to everybody. Thanks. Settle in. Gather round. How are you? Man, the story about the Colorado shooter, as I don't know what's up in Colorado with the Boberts and this guy and Aurora and this frontier fixation that a bunch of these people have, even though they live in modern societies. Their idea of a Second Amendment solution is most of the time tweeting a picture of them and their guns, just like the settlers did. And I have the affidavit on the arrest warrant for the shooter himself, who need not be mentioned, but there were the officer that they that was there. I suppose the first one, this guy Richard Steidel, who is the second officer on the scene, the first one was killed. Found Officer Eric Talley down. He was shot in the head. He died instantly by all measures. A lot like the other folks there or whatever. And this guy, the reason he was just in his underwear is, it turns out, he stripped off all of his clothing and walked backwards towards the police and asked to speak to his mother. This was clearly, no one's sane in the traditional sense if they kill 10 people. But this guy himself is, he got a through and through gunshot wound to his upper right thigh. That's what was bleeding in the thing. We don't know who got that shot off or where it happened, but that was where he decided to take off all of his clothes, including his tactical vest, and walk towards them. They do not say, but they say he had a green tactical vest, a rifle, possible AR-15, which, they're just eyeballing it, but yeah. A semi-automatic handgun, pair of jeans, dark-colored long-sleeve t-shirt. There was much blood around the items. He basically left his stuff in a pile. Suspect was taken into custody by Boulder police officers in approximately 3:28 p.m. It was aired over the radio. The suspect put his gear down inside the King Soopers, photographed the items that the male removed on the scene, were all those things that I mentioned. He identified himself as Ahmad Al-Alawi Alisa, born in 1999, and he's 5'6", 200 pounds, brown hair, green eyes, and he asked to talk to his mom. I don't have to... I don't know why we have to go through this every time a lunatic ends up with a gun. I mean, last week it's a religious nut, and then this week it's a guy his whole family knows he's paranoid. Whether or not a bill gets passed through Congress or the Senate, at what point in this frontier justice world that these gun nut assholes live in, where they're ever going to go, you know what, buddy, if you want to get a gun, go someplace else. I think you need help. I don't think you need a gun. How often do they think that? I mean, why would that be outside of the normal Christian expected behavior of these folks? It never occurred to them. Has it ever happened? Does anybody say that? Can we please find a gun owner who's gone, yeah, a guy came in trying to buy a gun. I called the cops. He was a lunatic. When have we... And they interview Republicans who weren't there and Democrats who weren't there about what the law should be. Why isn't somebody knocking on the door who sold him the gun? I want an interview with the dude who sold him that gun. What was the problem? Yeah, he seemed totally normal when he came into me. That's a conversation. That's worth having. Somebody can be insane and perform as if they are normal. That would be important. But if he came in and he was twitchy and all over the place, the dude still sold him multiple weapons, or God forbid his parents or friends gave them to him as gifts, which we keep hearing stories about that crap. Where's those interviews? At some point, you want to start seeing pressure. The media needs to start interviewing the person, the family, the gun owner, the shop owner that sold them the gun. If he bought it at Dick's Sporting Goods, when they were still selling AR-15s, then you need to interview somebody from Dick's Sporting Goods who goes, yeah, that's why we don't sell them anymore. Because Ted Cruz's yammering is going to be the same shit every time, and we know where people stand who want sensible gun regulations. But that isn't going to put any societal pressure on any of the folks who are actually involved in the ground in most of these decisions, and when these circumstances happen, until those laws get passed, which we're talking, months, if not years. We've been waiting for them for a long time, but nobody finds a secondary solution to it. One of them might be, and I would like to suggest this to all of my dear friends at CNN and MSNBC and the Washington Post and New York Times and all these legit news outlets. Interview the person that sold the person the gun every single time. Anytime there's a mass shooting, you interview the person that gave them or sold them the weapon. I want that person to explain themselves. Even if it's as simple as, he was totally normal when he came here. We did all the background check stuff. Then the story becomes, look, they did everything right and still we don't have the tools to deal with this kind of thing. We need better tools. If turns out they were like, yeah, he was shady as shit, but Gary insisted on selling him the gun in the parking lot, that's something else we know. It matters. And it will create a social pressure around these circumstances where these people will start to, when they go to church the next weekend, if somebody saw them on the news, there'll be 3 people who walk up and go, hey man, they're bothering you, 2A all the way, and that kind of shit. And then other people at church will go, you knew that boy was sick. We all knew it. You still sold him a gun. Or they talk to his parents or his friends or his buddy who lent it to him, or the person who left it unlocked so somebody stole it. We need to start, if you can't sue them, that's another thing yet. If you can't sue the manufacturer, the salesperson for what they've done, and amazingly that, Trump wants 230 repealed so that they can go after social media for dropping his Twitter account, but you can't sue a gun store owner for selling to someone who is obviously unhinged, right? You can't do that. But I want somebody to start having long-form interviews. I don't mean just stampede up to them when they're leaving there and ask them 2 questions where they say no comment. I want sit-downs with these assholes. Why do you think your son should have that many guns? What did he say when he wanted them? How did that conversation start? Do you have those kind of guns? Why do you have them? I mean, and coming off the Q shaman dude's nonsense, and seeing what his mother is like and going, well, this is obviously a similar circumstance. Like they don't think that differently. He probably became more clued into that stuff when he was sleeping on her couch, because I know it's hard to find shaman gigs these days. But you get an idea where it came from. You know, it's why you start looking into family histories of physical and sexual abuse to stop the future physical and sexual abuse, because we know it goes down family lines and the like. The same thing can happen in the social structure of a town and an area. 3D printed guns are bullshit. They're not a big worry. There's some elements of it. 3D printed rail guns will be a problem eventually, but the macho assholes won't like them because they don't make any noise. So I'm saying there's 100 ways to go. There are 1,000 different. There's bills that have been sitting. There's bills that can be drafted. There's all this kind of stuff. I'm going to start as best I can in these kind of circumstances, laying one thing I would like to see, and that's it, and not get bogged down. Because if you know, every time this comes up, we're trying to throw every brick at this wall and hope it falls into place magically. Literally, people are like, you know, metaphorically throwing bricks and hoping it forms a wall. It doesn't work. So I would request, and I am curious as a viewer, so I would love for people with the means and wherewithal in the media to start interviewing. This is the gun store where they bought it. We're talking to the owner right now. This is what he liked when he came in. And we're going to ask him more than 2 questions. We're going to ask him 8. Because we want to see how he responds to this stuff. Can he not wait to start, you know, does he just chuck a gun into anybody's hand who come in there? Because to him, it's like selling cans of soup. Or is this, you know, or did he seriously miss something? All worthwhile to the conversation. All valuable information. All that would inform the circumstance. NYPD got busted for gun permits for money. Right. That kind of thing is important. Then you stop the flow of that. So it's that's the one thing. Yeah, you need not more than a handgun and a shotgun. Right. Well, that's Biden's position. Get a shotgun for home security, and if you need to get a permit, go through all the, you know, all the machinations to concealed carry or have an open carry. But register that shit. You're an American. What do you got to be afraid of? I own a shotgun, but it's 2,500 miles away. I know how you mean. Yeah. So yeah, I have to say, that's going to be my one thing that I'm going to be pushing through all this, because I can't impact them bringing bills to the floor, whether or not Manchin will vote for it or any of that stuff, or any Republicans will be on board, even though the vast majority of Americans are. All that's true. All that conversation, we hear it every goddamn time. This is all I want. Start interviewing the person that gave them the gun. Sold it to them or gave it as a gift. I want to know. I want to know what they were thinking and why. That's it. And every piece of information on all these guys that they have will matter, because it'll spread over a wider group of humans. You'll start getting an idea, a broader picture. More information is always good. Even if it's bullshit, knowing you're being bullshitted is part of the story. Like all these guys, if you interview them, they bullshit us and they bullshit themselves that it's perfectly fine when they know better. You can see in his eyes during the interview. You know he knows he's full of shit. That's valuable. Why are gun nutters against gun registration? Paranoia. It's a mix of Christian prosecution, mark of the beast stuff mixed with I need it for the tyrannical government, plus straw sales, and this idea that they should be able to sell, you know, guns to their friends and relatives without paying tax. It's a bunch of shit. So there you go. All right, got that off my chest. The Republicans had a press conference. I'm sure it will be full of nuggets of truth. Oh, hi, Roy Blunt. You look fantastic. What do you have to say?
Work for a long time that's responsive, that people know the people that are expected to be sure that the election is conducted in a free and fair way. This bill takes all of that away.
Oh, they're talking about H.R. 1. The bill takes all of it away. Oh, no, it's terrible. I'm leaving. Joni Ernst. Trump loves Joni Ernst because she fights for...
First Lady's doing great.
Nope, that's not the right one. Hold on. Hold on. Where is it?
Barron.
Nope.
For Iowa values.
That's what it is. Joni Ernst fights for...
For Iowa values.
She fights for Iowa values.
For Iowa values.
Filibuster forces compromise.
The filibuster forces compromise. No, it doesn't. You got compromise. You got amendments that were added to bills over the years, and you didn't vote for it anyways. Where's the compromise? You guys vote as a wall.
And this is what Republicans did when they were in the majority in both the House and the Senate and holding the White House. We abided by the filibuster because we believed it was important to protect.
Well, you had an automatic filibuster in the form of Mitch McConnell. There need not be one when he stops everything from hitting the floor.
Protect the minority party. The filibuster is what makes the Senate the Senate.
No, it isn't. It's a deliberative body. One person rule anonymous holds in the filibuster is not what makes the Senate the Senate. The open debate is what makes the Senate the Senate.
I have said it before, but we don't need two House of Representatives here in Washington, D.C. So maintaining the filibuster.
Yeah, one is enough. They're gross.
Is very, very important. What we see from Democrats, however, is that they want to get rid of the filibuster, and what we call that is a power grab.
Oh, okay. That's your label for it? A power grab? So when Mitch McConnell just stops bills, he gladly takes the moniker the Grim Reaper and just kills bills by not letting them get to the floor. That's not a power grab. What would that be? A power brick?
And what we see is a move forward on things like the $15 per hour minimum wage.
Right.
The Green New Deal.
No.
Federalizing our elections.
Federal elections.
Process, which is much better handled at the state and local level.
Where we can stop black people from voting.
Now taking
and anybody who looks vaguely Mexican to me.
Away the rights of the voters and the people within those.
There is so much to what she says. Hold on, let me see if I can find this. This is what I think of every time I see Joni Ernst.
I guess I do like black people. It just took a white one to prove it to me.
States. That's exactly what we are experiencing in Iowa today. We have a Congresswoman, Marionette Miller Meeks, who was seated. She was duly elected and seated in Iowa's 2nd Congressional District. Now, it was a slim margin.
How slim?
That she won by. But recounts were done in those counties. Mm-hmm. The board of every county canvassed the elections properly. It went to a bipartisan board at the state level, and the election was certified by Iowans. Now, Rita Hart.
Yeah, it still would be.
Marionette Miller Meeks' opponent chose not to do what Iowa code calls for and go through the Iowa courts to appeal the decision of that bipartisan board. She chose not to do that. Instead, went straight to Nancy Pelosi and appealed to Democrats in a political process.
And so what?
Now, thankfully, those Democrats, some of them in the House, are standing up and coming forward.
You mean they went, yeah, we can't help you. That's Iowa's, but they had a bipartisan group. Yeah.
And saying it would be wrong to unseat Marionette Miller Meeks, who has been declared the winner of Iowa's second
So she wasn't the winner. She was just declared the winner, is what you're saying?
congressional district. So we need to keep this process where it belongs, at the state level.
Where we can manipulate it and where gerrymandering gives us at least some kind of a toehold here. Because honest to God, we are bleeding voters like you would not believe.
It needs to be at the local level. We do not need to federalize our
Federal elections.
election system. And
No, you don't have to. It just creates a standard.
Marionette Miller Meeks win needs to stand.
Does is there a reason why it wouldn't? I honestly got that overlap is weird.
Last Friday,
Hey man, I've come for you.
I had the opportunity to go to the Arizona-Mexico border with Governor Ducey from Arizona. And what we saw is what Biden's open borders amnesty policy are doing.
The open borders amnesty policy? You mean the policy he doesn't actually have that you just made up a name for? Why don't you just say power grab? It's a border power grab.
I met with Border Patrol agents. They're flabbergasted at this.
Really? Did they go, ho, 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 ho? That's what I always picture when someone says flabbergasted.
These changes. We took a helicopter, went down along the coast, and here's what you saw.
It was a sweet ride.
You saw a wall.
Uh-huh.
Then you'd have an opening because they were ready to put the gates up, and the Biden administration says, no, you can't put the gates up. You saw cameras and lights. They're ready to be hooked up so we can have better security. Shut down. They won't let them open that up. You saw roads that were supposed to run along the wall that are going to be washed out because of the rains that will come. Unfinished because the Biden administration made a decision that they're not going to finish the construction.
Did you see groups of people trying to cross at those points where there were obvious gaps? Or are you talking about bits of wall built in areas where people would have to walk for miles without any water whatsoever and no one could survive unless they had an ATV, in which case the drones could spot them and then all right.
That Congress appropriated. So I don't know why
I don't know why you wouldn't keep building a wall where no one crosses.
Biden administration,
When the wall works so well where everyone does, and they can climb it with $1.98 worth of wire and some coat hangers.
is doing this. You've heard the numbers. 100,000 people were detained
Yes, he has a bright tie. It's true, Amy.
last month. Almost 10,000 children, 15,000 children now in custody. This is all Joe Biden is doing.
Is it? So these are his children. Good God, the man must be exhausted.
He needs to go to the border, needs to see the crisis he's created.
And do what? Dump the kids on the other side of the border? Not accept them? Leave unaccompanied children in the desert to die? What's the pro-life position?
He said he's going to do it now, but we don't know when he's going to do it.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, you don't want to let the enemy know. You want to sneak up on it. It's a sneak attack on the border. I think it's it's the Biden doctrine.
Created this crisis. He needs to go deal with it. These governors.
How's he going to go deal with it? By just going there? Honestly, you do realize that they call it the administration because it's an administrative position. I mean, I understand that, your dude flew in a helicopter over a hurricane and the last one threw paper towels at some folks to make it look like he was participating, but it's what you're actually working on as far as crafting legislation, getting it passed, and changing the circumstances, and then coordinating. The idea of just standing there like he can't get real information is goofy.
It's like Governor Ducey are dealing with this crisis. They're dealing with people coming across the border. Their ranchers are getting impacted. Their businesses are getting impacted. Joe Biden needs to get down there and solve the problem.
Their rectum's getting impacted. Why are ranchers' businesses getting impacted by a surge in unaccompanied minors? Are they farming children in Arizona? Honestly, I gotta say, that was a series of bumper stickers. Well done. Oh no. Oh, good Lord. He's probably going to start bitching about how much plastic is in the water and one straw could kill him.
I'm just trying to tell you that if I lay a bunch of eggs on the beach and I never get down to the water's edge, it's your fault.
Given the rise of gun violence and mass shootings that we've seen over the years, do you personally regret the opposition that you had to expanding background checks, including the Manchin shooting.
Do you regret your opposition to expanded background checks? You're kidding, right? Dude got Russian NRA money to get reelected.
Yeah, well, with regard to the bill that is going to be up in the
I'm not against background checks. I'm just against any bill that comes forward with it in it.
House, that the president, I gather, supports, I joined Joe Manchin in opposing that bill. With regard to
He doesn't oppose it. He has some changes. You oppose it outright.
these acts of violence, they are absolutely horrendous.
Well spotted. I'm glad I'm glad you're wearing your glasses so you can tell us that. Oh, the guys, he knows that 10 people being murdered at a grocery store is horrendous. I'm glad. Well, at least we can agree on something.
Let me focus for a minute
Uh-huh.
on the shootings in Georgia. As the husband for almost 3 decades of an Asian American woman, I have noticed, and we have experienced over the years, racial prejudice against Asian Americans. It certainly rose
But enough about the Q crowd.
to the fore for everyone else when we saw these shootings.
No, I would go back to I'd go with Kung Flu, asshole.
These despicable acts of violence should need to be condemned for what they are,
They were.
but the legislative solutions
Is to outlaw Asian Americans.
have been perplexing and
Have been that's what it is. Guys, it's perplexing. Who hasn't looked at this dude with who's clearly unhinged in his ability to get any gun he wants? It's perplexing.
I said,
I'm perplexed. I'm flabbergasted. Oh, we can fight crime and fall in love.
as I said, I share Joe Manchin's opposition to the version
To the version.
that passed in the House.
Well, then modify the bill, be engaged in it, and vote for a version of it that sends it back to the House with those modifications. It'll pass instead of blocking it wholesale. By the way, just so you know, what he just said there is a total lie hidden in fake concern. Because if that was the case, if he understood Joe Manchin's problems with the bill and the modifications that Manchin wants to make when they modified things in the Senate, the changes they want to make when it goes back to the House would pass. So why not work to get those changes made and then vote for it? He won't. He'll vote against it, even with the changes that are made.
On the Senate floor, you argue the filibuster is not rooted in racism.
Oh, well, hi, Karen.
Historians differ on this. Are you concerned about the perception? If it is used against advancing voting rights, certainly the public perception is that Republicans are going to use this tool to make it harder for black people to vote.
Yeah,
Actually, that's kind of true.
actually, historians do not agree. It has no racial history at all.
Oh, really? Historians agree? Which historians would those be?
My name is Jacob Bedford Johnson, and I'm a well-known historian of the highest order. I will say, growing up outside of Coleman, Alabama, I've formed many an opinion about the historical context of voting with, and I would like to say that there's nothing very much of Jim Crow and nonsense about this bill. This is simply to keep the riffraff out.
None.
None.
So there's no dispute among historians.
What the fuck are you talking? What? No dispute among historians. Sorry, I didn't realize you were being asked by a historian. You're being asked by a reporter about the public, the actual humans in the country. How about now? Screw history. Screw any of the. Right now, you're being racist. What are you talking about?
About that. I make no apologies for opposing this bill. You've heard Senator Blunt outline the various flaws involved in it.
No, he just kind of complained.
This is all about a
Give him
power
some
grab.
watercress.
If it were related to civil rights,
I wouldn't go near it with a 10-foot pole.
why were the Democrats using the tool last year and the year before that
What tool is that?
and the last 6 years?
What tool are you talking about? You tool?
Why is it all of a sudden a civil rights issue when it wasn't for them as recently as last year.
What are you talking about? Democrats have been trying to expand the vote to everyone, even in areas where there may be more Republicans to add to the vote. As a matter of fact, it's one of the big reasons why Trump got more votes than the last time. It wasn't because he got more supporters. It's because more people had access to the vote. You're trying to curtail access. Democrats are trying to expand access. What are you talking about?
Honestly, with all due respect, that
Which he means none.
is nonsense. This is a power grab. It's
Oh, power grab. That's the new thing or whatever. By the way, they don't have to have a power grab. Democrats are in charge. They didn't grab power. They earned it through an election.
all about trying to take over the American election system. It has all kinds of flaws. And under Senator Blunt's leadership, we're going to begin to point them out.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear Blunt's, like his rapier dissection of the entire bill. It's going to be amazing.
In great detail, starting tomorrow in the Rules Committee.
Awesome. Yeah, can't wait. Tomorrow in the Rules Committee. He's hoping everybody sleeps through it and blows up. Yeah. This dude Thune cannot wait. Is that Thune back there?
Well, I think the voters of Missouri are going to decide who the nominee is next year. And in the meantime, my view is it's up to the people of Missouri to decide who the candidates are going to be.
On guns, there have been a number of possible legislative solutions, whether it was expanding background checks, red flag laws.
That's Garrett Haig. You can tell by his voice.
Limits on
Maybe he has to pee. That's possible.
magazine capacity. Are any of those things you think your conference might support, that you might support? Is there a legislative role in addressing the guns part of this specifically?
I'm certainly open to the discussion. We were in this place August of 2019.
Yeah, I remember that. Remember that one time we had that shooting?
When we had another series of incidences.
A series of incidences.
Historians agree that I've got a couple of volume 7 of a series of incidences. Yup.
The then president was wrestling with whether or not he could support something. What I'm not attracted to is something
Is anything without a shell.
that doesn't work.
Well, so far not doing anything hasn't worked. So I'm glad you're not attracted to the idea of blocking all sensible gun legislation, because that's what you've been doing since we've had
A series of incidences.
And there have been deep-seated philosophical differences between Republicans and Democrats about how to
You mean do something versus no?
deal with gun violence. One thing we do know for sure is that these shooters are invariably mentally incapacitated.
Right. And armed. And there are no laws currently that help us deny crazy people or wife and child beaters and known psychopaths with a history of violence from getting a gun.
Perhaps that would help us stop this a series of incidences.
Mentally incapacitated. This is a vexing problem.
Oh, I'm vexed by how these crazy people ended up armed to the fucking teeth.
It is extremely hard to identify in advance.
So why try?
So we will see what the majority leader wants to put on the floor and see what it looks like and have
And then we will all collectively vote against it, even if we agree.
a full, robust discussion.
A full and robust discussion headed by Roy Blunt and Ted Cruz. Bye. Jesus, look at that scatter. Holy smokes. It's like somebody came into the kitchen and turned the lights on. Shit. Bye. That is a heck of a strap, dude. That way to keep your mask on. That's amazing. Way to commit. Dude, get out of the way. You're blocking my shot of the 3 flags. Looks like it's a hashtag turtle shit. Just walking out. This is the leftover footage. This is what I live for. Bye. Pum, 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 pum. It's like a democracy aquarium. I'd rather have this playing on my TV than one of those fake Yule logs. That guy needs more cameras. Anyways, this dude, he's currently my favorite. This guy right here. You can only see part of him as far as it goes. Anyways, let me tell you something, son, about the gunfire. One time I was attacked, and all I had on me was 2 nickels from 1922 that I'd been collecting for a long time, and a tooth of mine that had fallen out in a bar fight 6 days earlier. Both of them were in my pocket. Now, together I was able to fashion together a rudimentary projectile in which I was able to. A man came in with a gun and said, "Give me your flags or else." I said, "You're gonna take these flags off of my cold, dead bar floor, along with the sawdust and shrimp shells. This is a good place. I come here all the time." But anyways, I flicked one of the coins to his right, and the clink of metal against the spittoon caught his eye, and he looked over that way, and that when I was able to zing that tooth right into his eyeball, and he was grabbing on that kind of stuff, and he died of a cavity it created a cavity wound. Anyways, what are you ladies doing later? Okay, thanks, fellas. Bye-bye.
Well,
Come on, I'm gonna tell you, I got more stories for you in the parking lot. Seriously, this is the Yule. I'm not watching the rest of this shit. I don't need to see Abbott do this. Okay, so remember yesterday, Trump calls into the Truth with Linda Booth. Get it? The Truth with Linda Booth. It doesn't have to be true, because it rhymes.
I'm Newt Gingrich.
Oh, God. Yeah, you are.
And I'm proud to welcome The Truth with Lisa Booth to the Gingrich 360 Network.
To the Gingrich 360 Network? What? What the hell? What I cannot think of a worse media empire than Newt Gingrich running one.
Everyone, welcome to The Truth with Lisa Booth. This is my first podcast, my first episode.
And I guarantee the rest of them are going to be bitchin'.
And I have a very, very special guest.
Do you miss me yet?
Oh, is it super loud? Sorry. Hold on, I'll turn this down. Where's the volume on this stupid thing? Can you turn? Nope, that's not it. Boom, boom. Maybe I'll try it. Hold on. Let's see. Turning it down a little bit over here. Sorry. Play. Oh, it's there. Sorry.
Do you miss me?
God.
A lot of things going on.
That's right. President Donald J. Trump is joining me. Mr. President, so I was thinking today about preparing for this interview, and it dawned on me that I am starting with the biggest name I could possibly get.
That's pretty sad.
So it's pretty much downhill from here.
It is. It is. You mean from introducing him to the conversation? It is. You're right. It's pretty much downhill from here, Lisa.
Well, I think you're doing so great anyway.
Yeah, it's such a great show so far. I think we're about 14 seconds into episode 1, and it's really, you're doing such a good job, Lisa.
When you asked, I want to do it with you, I turned down a lot of people.
No, he didn't. He didn't turn down anyone. He's been talking to everyone. You don't believe me? Here's Greg Kelly's interview. Here's part 2 of Greg Kelly's interview. Yeah, here's the Victory News part. Yeah, there you go. So there's, yeah, he's not turning down anyone. He's talking to everyone.
But I want to
This is basically what he has instead of Twitter now.
Do it with you. I just appreciate.
Well, little Freudian slip there.
Everything you've done. You're really a professional, a great professional, and people have.
Also, generic things. You're such a good person who does the job that I have been made aware that you do when you're jobbing your thing that you am doing.
A lot of respect for you, Lisa.
I have such respect for the great job you're kind of amming doing.
So thank you very much. It's an honor.
Isn't it?
You know, I've been thinking about it. You know, a lot of your supporters right now, you know, we feel like no one's fighting for us. And
really? Is that what you feel like? No one's fighting for you? You work for Fox. Do you not watch OAN and Newsmax? Don't they make you watch the competition? No one's fighting for you? What are they supposed to do? Another January 6th?
Washington, D.C., you know, we're being maligned by...
Oh, thank you, Janet. Hooray! She became a year-long Patreon supporter. Thank you so much.
By the media, maligned by the left. Big tech has shut off your ability to communicate with your...
I mean, I don't know if I count as the right or the left or big tech or the media. I feel like I should qualify as everything but the right. I mean, I think I fall into all those categories. I'm not maligning you. I'm shit talking you. I'm mocking you. Maligning would seem to indicate that I think you're somehow important or he's important. No, I'm just having fun. And I'm also not allowing that you or he should be taken seriously in any form. So, maligning. That's adorable.
Borders, what's your message to them right now? What do you want?
What is your message to the people of the border? Come on, whip out some Spanish.
To tell them?
Well, it is a very unfair situation. They go after us at every level, in the city, in the states.
In the counties, in the country.
Go after us. You know, I won
the weeds.
In the federal and, you know, all these Mueller investigations and all of the nonsense that went on. It turned out that it was Hillary Clinton.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was Hillary the whole time.
It turned out with Russia.
It did. It totally turned out it was Hillary.
You know, Russia, and Ukraine, and the impeachment hoax #1 and #2.
Do you have does you think he has like a little old Rolodex with all of his talking points on it, and he just turns the dial and says whatever's on the card that flips by?
And, you know, you do all that, and then you have the state and local stuff.
Yeah, the state and local stuff. Ick.
They send it into them. It's a disgrace. I mean...
Lisa, what's he talking about? I mean, I kind of know. But he's talking about Georgia and New York kicking his ass right now.
Honestly, it's a disgrace.
It's totally a disgrace.
It couldn't happen to a Democrat, and yet we keep fighting, and I think we're...
Well, it couldn't happen to a Democrat because, I mean, on a national level, nobody's done that shit in decades. Since they were Dixiecrats, since the old Republican Party became the Democrats and the old Democratic Party became Republicans, you know.
Very effective. We had a great election, and we won.
No, you didn't. So much. Oh, well, there goes the name, Lisa. Sorry.
And they took it away. It was a rigged election.
Stole it from me.
Because, as you know, we won the first one, but we did much better in the second one.
Yeah, but so did Biden. He did way better.
So people always say, "Oh, what do you mean you did better?" I said, "We did much better. Almost 75."
Do they? I love that idea. The people at Mar-a-Lago he's going, "We did better in this election." People go, "What do you mean you did much better?" Like, are people fucking with him at Mar-a-Lago? Like, we won the election. How can you say you won the election? We totally won it.
Million votes, and that's the votes that we know about.
Yeah, I mean, don't even start on the ones that we know you faked.
And it was really a terrible thing. I mean,
yeah, it's terrible.
It was really an unfair thing to the people that support us.
Yeah,
so what's happened has been, people have seen some silence, but actually, if you take a look at what's happened over the last period of time,
if you take a look at what's happened over the last period of time, Jesus Christ, like his vocabulary is never going to improve. It's either looking backwards in a little period of time or looking forward into the last period of time. Jeez.
Sending out releases, they're getting picked up much better than any tweet.
Yeah, totally, dude. Absolutely. Your little press releases are killing it. That's why you're on Lisa Booth's podcast and and doing 2-part interviews with Greg Kelly and calling into Maria Bartiromo's show. Yeah, totally. I mean, dude, nothing but net with your faxes.
And I'm doing things having to do with putting our own platform out there that you'll be hearing about soon.
Oh, I'm very excited. I can't wait for you to start your Trumpster.
But even more important,
with no E, just Trumpster.
Ooh, anything you can tell?
Ooh, dish it.
Tell me about that.
Well,
oh my God,
I'll be telling you pretty soon. But
yeah, I'll tell you, but not on the air because I'm trying to find a way to get the money from other people.
But when I put out a statement, it's much more elegant than a tweet. And
is it?
I think it gets picked up better. You're seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, why would you even want to tweet at this point?
Put out statements from the president, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's so much better when somebody. Well, fuck me.
And it's getting picked up by
grifter. That's awesome, El Rondo.
Everybody, everything we say. So if I endorse somebody, because we're endorsing some very good people, and
yeah, it's totally all over the news. Who are they?
If I endorse somebody, it gets tremendous pickup.
Yeah, I mean, I like you and I both know.
I would almost say better than a tweet. Now it goes on Twitter because thousands of people pick it up and they put it on Twitter and they put it on.
They laugh about it and make fun of it and go, look at this dude, still thinks he's president, that kind of stuff.
Facebook, they put it all over the place.
Totally.
So
it's everywhere on all the trusted sources.
Really having the voices, I think has been very big. I've only started doing that over the last 3 or 4 weeks, but it's the voices out there. I think maybe in a certain way, maybe as big as ever.
And I've been reading the releases that you've been putting out, but you'd mentioned earlier about sort of the control, the way that the left goes after conservatives, but it's kind of scary right now because
it's totally scary. I mean, I'm just starting this podcast and I'm worried that I'm going to be canceled before it's even done.
They essentially control every institution in the country.
Then why are 20 Republican AGs trying to sue to? All
right. They've got the federal government right now. They control big tech. They control the corporations. So they're basically controlling.
Yeah, everything. It's almost like they run stuff because they beat you at the competency game. So basically, you're saying that the right wing and conservatives have lost every fight they've waged. And they weren't losing them before Trump came along. So how does it feel to be the catalyst for conservatives eating shit on all levels?
The flow of information to the American people. At one point we had the House, we had the Senate, we had you in the White House. Why didn't we rein in big tech when we had that chance?
Yeah, why didn't you stop Twitter from allowing people to post bullshit? Oh, wait.
Well, they should have done it, Section 230.
Who's we?
They should have done it. They didn't do it. And now all of a sudden the Democrats are being...
By the way, please start your version of Trumpster or whatever it is, your own version of social media, Trump. Make that, and then make a pledge that you are not going to participate in Section 230. You are not going to view yourself as a publisher, but as a platform. You are going to operate your social media platform as if Section 230 does not exist. Come on, make that bold and powerful statement. Stand by and stand back and stand up and stand over there in the corner with a funny hat on pointing in the corner. Live up to the standards by which you are saying everyone else should. No Section 230 on Trump's own social media site. Make it happen. Come on.
Their protector. They were never their protector. They hated big tech, but now they're the protector because, they figure they're getting the advantage in big tech. But if you look at what happened at the election, Mitch McConnell should have fought. He did nothing. He should have fought. They would have fought. That could never have happened to a Democrat. What happened to us with the presidential election could never have happened to the Democrats. You would have had a revolution if the tables were turned.
Well, that's because it would have been a lie. It would have been, it would have been a crime, and Democrats would actually like who they were running and care. And I mean, ultimately, I'm never going to interrupt him when he's shitting on Republicans, but what is one to draw as a conclusion from what he's talking about, other than that apparently Republicans are weak, can't get it together, and don't sufficiently love Donald Trump enough to do anything right and real, according to him?
You would have literally had a revolution, and guys like,
well, not literally. It would have, it would have been a lot of marching and shit.
Mitch McConnell, they don't fight, and now he's hanging by a thread. He's hanging by a thread.
Well, he's still got his job, though. I mean, he's hanging by a thread, but he's got the thread. Your thread caught fire. I mean,
to him at all?
Not really. I don't.
Yeah, I don't talk to him.
Really want to talk to him. Look,
I don't really want to talk to him.
He's hanging by a thread right now with respect to the filibuster. And if they get the he's hanging on Joe Manchin, who always goes with the Democrats.
He is a Democrat.
Talks, but he ends up going with the Democrats.
He is a Democrat. Does Trump think Manchin is a Republican? Does he even know?
He's hanging by a thread. And if
is he hanging by a thread, though? That's my question.
They get the filibuster, if they knock it out.
Let me guess. The thread will be cut?
It will be
like something no one's ever seen and worse than anyone has ever seen in possibly a long time and maybe ever?
Catastrophic for the Republican Party. Now, there is one thing that you can do, not show up.
Yeah, that's it. That's the great plan. Don't show up.
Republicans don't show up. In other words, there's no vote. As I understand it with 50-50, as I understand it, the vice presidential vote doesn't count in that case, so they can't get that through. Now, I don't even...
Okay, dummy. Did you not see the COVID relief package pass? Did you not see that it didn't need the vice president's vote because one of the Republicans didn't show up because he had a funeral to go to? And so it passed 50-49? Did he not? What do you mean? Yeah, but I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, totally. If you guys don't show up, the Democrats can't do anything. Senators should just, show Democrats. Just don't show up. Yeah, that's the plan.
To know if the Senate knows that, if you want to know the truth. But
yeah, the Senate doesn't know what the Senate rules are. Man, tell them, Trump. Tell the Republicans what to do. Bypass Mitch McConnell. Tell them all to stay home. It won't lower the threshold for what 60-40 is as far as the amount of people there. For God's sake. Please, I can't believe I'm telling them this. Please, all Republicans, do exactly what your Fuhrer is saying. Do it. Do it. Don't show up. Especially for H.R. 1, gun legislation. Yeah, just boycott it.
If they don't show up, Lisa, I hear that you can't take a vote.
I hear that you can't take a vote. You hear wrong.
Doesn't work. So they may have to do that because they can't allow, if they knock out the filibuster, they cannot allow this to happen. The things that they're going to attack the Second Amendment violently, which I've told everybody.
Violently. Well, at least they won't be using guns, I suppose.
They're going to attack.
Were they going to tickle it to death?
Yeah, they're going to attack the Supreme Court. Wouldn't it?
Not with guns, obviously. They're obviously going to attack the Supreme Court holding former Supreme Court justices.
Be interesting.
They're going to attack them with the bones of RBG.
The Supreme Court has done absolutely nothing.
They're pitiful. You thought Mitch McConnell was bad.
For us in terms of the election. They haven't done what they should have done. Wouldn't it be ironic if they stacked the court? It would be.
No, it wouldn't.
Be rather ironic.
Yeah.
It wouldn't actually be ironic. It might be poetic, but not ironic.
I mean, the amount of control they want to have over the country is
terrible. It's amazing. It's almost like they all want to be Mitch McConnell.
It's pretty terrifying. I mean, you look at things like H.R. 1, but I want to talk.
Yeah, look at it. Did you look at it? Did you read it? I read it. Did you read it? What's in it? Tell me what's in it. Lisa Booth.
Talk to you about the border crisis and
yeah, jump to the crisis. Say crisis.
what's going on there. You know, they obviously refuse to call it a border crisis, but the U.S. is on pace right now to stop more migrants crossing the border, or more migrants crossing the border than in the last 20 years. You had immigration under control. You had the remaining.
No, we're not on pace to this year stop more migrants crossing the border than in the last 20 years. Think about how stupid you have to be to hear that the border crossings are at the highest point that the last time they were at this point was 20 years ago. And think that what that means is that right now there are as many people coming into the country as in the last 20 years put together.
In Mexico policy, you were putting up a wall. You were not doing catch and release, which is something Joe Biden is doing now. So you had it handled. Is there any
totally handled? I mean, COVID helped a little bit.
Advice that you would like to give Joe Biden on?
Yeah, please give him some advice. Teach him how to do it right. Like, especially on like winning an election. Give him some advice.
How he should be handling the immigration crisis right now.
Well, finish the wall. Don't forget, we were delayed 2.5 years with litigation from the Democrats, from Nancy Pelosi. And
because you wanted to get the money. I thought Mexico was going to pay for it, but you ended up taking the money from military families.
Congress.
Apparently, Democrats had an issue with that.
And we won those cases, but we wasted 2.5 years. Despite that, the wall is just about finished.
Yeah, it's almost done. If we'd have just finished that last 18 feet, we wouldn't even have this problem.
Little sections of the wall. Contractors are essentially paid, and they should finish the wall. It's a very little.
What's essentially paid?
You could finish it in a month, and it's impossible that they're not.
How can you finish it in a month with all those people pouring through it? I mean, honestly, like you wouldn't even be able. The concrete wouldn't have time to set. There'd be all these footprints in it. Oh wait, no one's crossing at that point.
It's just crazy that they're not finishing the wall.
Oh, it's nutty.
So that's one piece of advice. And then you have to go back to you have to remain in Mexico. You know, Mexico and I had a very good relationship.
Because you threatened them with tariffs? We heard this
I must say, we had a great...
I must say. Oh, as if this isn't a wonderful arrangement, I must say. Even though the president of Mexico said, I'm not paying for that fucking wall. I mean, that's kind of the language, I must say.
I have a lot of respect.
Oh, as if it isn't.
And like for the president of Mexico.
I have respect and like.
They had their soldiers, while we were building the wall, they had 27,000 soldiers guarding the wall, guarding our border.
How many? Wasn't it 28,000 yesterday? Did we lose? Oh my God, Mexico, are you okay? Did you lose 1,000 soldiers in the last 24 hours?
And they did a very good job, I must tell you.
Yeah, well, I mean, as good as you can do when you've lost 1,000 soldiers in a day.
You know, they don't have the restrictions that we have. They did a very...
They don't have the restrictions that we have? Oh, you mean, what do you mean? Ethics, decency?
Very good job.
What are you talking about?
But we had it to a level that they say it has never been. We have it. We got rid of all sorts of things, including catch and release, all sorts of horrible things that we had to live with.
Yeah, like not having a contagious disease shut down the country.
Got rid
of that.
And the remain in Mexico. Right now, they're remaining in the United States, and they're never going to leave. And we have no idea who these people are. But I can tell you, when countries send people up, and they do send...
Oh, no. We're going straight to they're not sending their best. They're sending drug dealers.
Send them up. When they send them up, they're not sending up their finest.
Oh, my God. Seriously? It's like dipshit Time Machine.
Okay? They're not sending up their finest. You have some very good people coming up.
And some of them I hear are good people. I mean, honestly.
But you have some really bad ones coming.
It's like going to see a band and they're going to do their big hit and then they whip out acoustic guitars and do a jazz version of it. You're like, just come on.
To really dangerous criminals coming up. And we're allowing them to come right into our country. It's insane. And it's nothing compared.
Yeah, these 8-year-old mobsters are the worst. I mean, it's like it's basically like a bunch of Mexican versions of the little kid in RoboCop 2.
Compared to what it's going to be over the coming months.
They're all just carrying pockets full of nuke.
You see it now, enjoy it, because it's much better now. When you see it in 2 or 3 months, because they're just starting to come, they'll be coming up by the millions. And we have no idea. I mean, forgetting even about COVID and no testing, no nothing. I mean, we're trying to get rid, because we came up with a vaccine, we're going to be hopefully in good shape in the not too distant future. But these people, they're not being tested, nothing. But
They are being tested. Otherwise, how would we know that some of them have it and they're being isolated because of it? How can you say they're bringing COVID if you're not testing them? If you're testing them, that's how you know they have it. And that's how you, all right.
they're also, as I said before, you have some very bad hombres coming up, and we're taking them into our country, and it's insane. They're destroying our country, ladies.
Yeah, I mean, it was that quick.
They're destroying our country.
I mean, I don't even recognize it. I mean, I know, obviously, the jobs numbers look fantastic, and the economy's coming back, and the COVID relief bill actually, is helping people get back on their feet. But, I mean, it looks destroyed to me. Have you been to the store lately? Ugh. I mean, it's just like rubble.
Well, and it's happening so fast. And for those at home who don't, the Remain in Mexico.
For those of you at home that don't know the country is destroyed, because when you go outside or you look at your cities, they're kind of fine.
Policy was such a smart thing, because essentially what happened was Central American asylum seekers, they remained in Mexico instead of coming into the United States.
Where they could be sex trafficked and abused and enslaved and murdered.
Because what was happening, and Mr. President, this is why you did this, which was so wise. What was happening is these individuals.
Templeton, thank you so much. Rock lobster. Bless you. Thank you so much.
Were coming here, passing that initial interview, and then getting lost in the population of illegal immigrants living here. So they're using that as an opportunity to get in and then disappear. So that was so smart that you didn't.
Totally.
You threatened with tariffs, and you got Mexico to step up.
Mexico. I mean, it really is a mess. Just call it that.
To the plate. But there's also this. So, in January and February, border authorities encountered more than 15,000 unaccompanied minors. A migrant facility in Donna, Texas was at 729% of its pandemic capacity. This month, are Joe Biden's immigration policies inhumane?
More than what? Compared to the unaccompanied minors on the Mexican side of the border, where there's not enough food and they're not being educated and no one is trying to connect them with their parents. They're just living in tents among strangers in cartel towns.
Well, they are inhumane, and what's happened is people that are living in their countries, and that's where they've been, and in many cases, that's where they ultimately want to go back to, if you can believe it.
Why would I believe that? Okay, so let me get this straight. So people come into this country, ultimately they want to go back to their country, but they come in and America's just so goddamn sweet, they just give up on their home country instead of seeking asylum during the time where there's unrest or there's violence or there's any kind, like the Hurricane Eta that destroyed that one dude's farm, for example, till, things get righted again. Then he can go back home and start making a living again. He wants to, oh God.
But people living in their countries are coming in, and these are not just countries.
People living in their countries are coming in?
In South America, Latin America. These are now countries.
Yeah, both. Probably either or. I don't know.
Countries where you look at the Middle East. We have Middle Easterners coming in. We know nothing about them.
We have Middle Easterners coming in. Yeah, on the northern border.
We have things
literally during the Trump administration, the Border Patrol did a report on where Middle Eastern people are trying to get into the country. All of them, all but two came in through Canada.
It's happening and we had it in such good control 3 months ago.
When no one was coming because we were in our second wave of the pandemic that you said would go away.
And then he made the statement that you want to come in, and everybody just started marching up. And the country.
That's what he said? He just made the statement, you want to come in?
Countries had a lot to do with it. So one of the things I did was it was impossible to bring them back to Guatemala, Honduras.
Oh, this is the old, it was impossible to drop them off. We heard this shit yesterday. And I also showed you the statistics yesterday that the Obama administration, I think it was 138,864 people they returned that were violent criminals to other countries. But please tell us how they wouldn't even take them.
And El Salvador.
Yeah, any of the Salvadors.
And you couldn't bring them back. You couldn't get them back no matter what. And what happened is I said, look, how much money do we pay? We paid those countries $500 million a year. I stopped payment. And all of a sudden they took them back. In other words, we'd capture MS-13. And if you take a look at El Salvador as an example, or any of them.
Any of the Salvadors. Salvador Dali.
Other countries too. they wouldn't take them back. So I stopped payment. As soon as I stopped payment, they gladly took them back. Nobody's.
Anybody who disagrees with what I'm saying, go look up Obama deportations. And any story that comes up will talk to you about the number of violent criminals and the prioritization of violent criminals in deportations in the hundreds of thousands every single year.
Never done that before. Nobody ever talks about it because, how simple is it? But nobody's ever done it. So I stopped paying the $500.
Nobody's ever done it. Just a straight up lie. Not that Lisa Booth knows. Thank you, Stephen.
$100 million a year to the three countries, the triangle as we call them. I stopped paying it.
The triangle, as we call them? You mean Bermuda?
Once I stopped paying it, they said, we'll take them back. They would literally round them up before me. They would round them up, bring them to Honduras, bring them to Guatemala, and they would say, turn around, we're not taking them back.
All right. I mean, I did this yesterday, but oops, sorry. I'm in the wrong, my keyboard's on the wrong one. There we go. This is the story we looked at yesterday, just to clarify. Please shut up. Don't play this. Thank you. Just to clarify down, it's let's see. Let me look for the part where it's more than 2.5. Okay, between 2009 and 2015, Obama's administration, deported more than 2.5 million people through the administration orders, which doesn't include the number of people who self-deported, left, or were turned away or returned to their home country at the border by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So 2.5 million from basically the middle of the country, and this doesn't even include all the people who came to the border and tried to cross illegally. In this, let's see, immigration plan is President George W. Administration who's being deported. In fiscal year 2015, 91% of the people removed from the United States were previously convicted of a crime. According to their website, ICE let's see, where is, okay. President Obama directed U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement to focus on criminals, not families, during his November 2014 executive order on immigration. We dealt with this once before, whatever. In 2015, 81%, or 113,000, beg your pardon, I thought it was 138,000, 113,385 of the removals were priority one removals, which are violent criminals or people with, a history of violent acts. So Trump wants you to believe that only when he was president would these countries start taking back, quote unquote, violent criminals, and that during the Obama administration, a plane would land and they would say, get that plane out of here. And they wouldn't take them back. And in 1 year, during the Obama administration, 81% of the people who were deported directly, 113,000 people plus, were violent criminals. They went somewhere. But please, go on. I can't wait for you to hear how nobody would take them back. 113,000, just saying. No, keep clicking.
Now they take them back, but now they're not going to again. So he's paying, and we don't get anything for it. We give them a lot of money, and we get nothing but disrespect.
By the way, remember the caravans that were all coming? We heard about caravans all during Trump. Here come these caravans. The reason why the caravans were such a big deal and why there were supposedly so many of them was because these countries were becoming effectively failed states and they weren't being able to support people. So we took back the money we were giving them, and therefore, what's the impetus for not letting the caravans come up? Let your tired, your weak, your long of tooth come on up to America because you can't take care of them anymore.
And we had it down to an absolute science. It was a beautiful thing to see. And frankly, what's happened, and even Mexico, I said, look, if we don't make a deal and if you don't help us out, we're going to have to put tariffs on all of the products that you sell to the United States.
That sounds like friendship. Yeah, he had a great relationship with the president of Mexico. That's how he got it, because I have a great relationship with him. He likes me. I like him. Of course, I put a financial gun to his head, and that's why he ultimately did it, if indeed he did.
because they have a big surplus with the United States. So we're going to have to put a tariff on. As soon as I said that, they were great. They were great.
You know what? We have a big surplus with Mexico. Money. We have a lot more money than they do.
Great relationship with Mexico.
We're going to buy more shit from them than they're going to buy from us because we're the richest country in the world.
And the other countries, because they didn't want to have either tariffs imposed or they wanted to get some of the money. And I also gave them back less, but we gave them.
This is just garbage. This is what you're hearing from this man is what Stephen Miller told him was going on.
We stopped payment on all of that money that was pouring in, and all of a sudden they took the MS-13 people back, and they took the people that we wanted out of our country back. So people don't talk about that.
They don't talk about it because it's bullshit and everybody knows better. I mean, Lisa will. She'll, it's her first episode, so she's got to make sure she can get other guests by not, taking a shit on your forehead. But, the reason people don't talk about it is because you're the only one apparently who even remotely believes it.
Never talk about that, but that's what happened, and we never had it so good. And when they release them in our country, they go into our country. We never find them again. They never come back. Okay, they never come back. A very tiny percentage comes back.
Well, if they don't come back, they can never be a citizen. So if they get deported, they'll never get a pathway to citizenship. All the bills, by the way, if you dodge that hearing and they know who you are, and they fingerprinted you, so they know it's you. It's not about documents or giving a fake name anymore. If you cross the border and they do the catch and release for you because you have family in the States or whatever, and you want to you've told your family there, I want to become a citizen and all that kind of stuff, and you don't show up for that date, you skip out on it, guess what? You don't get to become a citizen. Ever.
Say, we're going to release you in the country and you'll come back in 2 years for a legal case. That's the end of them. Very few people show up. It's ridiculous.
No, a lot of them come back because they eventually want to be citizens, and if they don't, they can't.
So we had a thing where we keep them in Mexico. We got upheld in the courts, meaning positively.
I thought you got held up.
So all of these people were staying in Mexico. What that did is it forced Mexico not to let them in on their northern border. So they wouldn't let them in.
You mean their southern border? What? Wait, what part? Which direction does he think Earth is?
So it was sort of working for everybody. And then these people came along and they just ended everything. And now they're going to be flowing in by the millions. Already started very substantially.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Like just this swamp of children that'll apparently be raised as Americans and will make up their own minds and become individuals. And I mean, there's no way the Republican Party could sway them to vote Republican because look what they did when they were children. But,
Nobody's ever seen it as bad as it is now. It's real.
Well, no, 20 years ago, it was about the same level. There were solutions to be had,
Really good compared to what it will be in a few months.
We certainly don't see the same pressure from the media, the same sort of lies that they were telling about your immigration policies being applied to, the Biden administration.
Well, you'd have to use a totally different set of lies, obviously, because they don't make sense. I mean, why would you use the same lie about a different person? That doesn't make sense.
Here, but I wanted to ask you. You'd mentioned COVID early, it's been over.
I'm sorry, mentioned what?
Over a year since the 15 days to slow the spread. And Dr. Fauci has drawn the ire of a lot of conservatives like me, and also Senator Rand.
I'm sorry, are you a conservative? I don't know why I would believe that.
And Paul, we've seen a lot of his exchanges in the Senate with Dr. Fauci. He's flip-flopped on masks. He was wrong about the travel bans. He basically told us at the beginning to not worry about COVID. Do you regret ever?
No, he was like, you don't have to worry about getting it at the store. There wasn't enough of it in the country. But as it grew and as information came out, they modified it based on reality. Seriously, if it was sunny yesterday, and you heard someone say it might rain tomorrow, and you refuse to take an umbrella with you because it was sunny today, and that's the reality that you know, and then you go out and get rained on, is it because the new information that you got was false, or because you just refuse to recognize that the weather changes, circumstances change, reality shifts, and you adjust accordingly.
Elevating him.
Well, I didn't really elevate him. He's been there for 40 years. He's been there forever. And I thought rather than
he has managed to keep a job for a very long time.
Firing him, I listened to him, but I didn't do what he said because.
And there you have it. 564,000 dead Americans in one sentence.
Frankly, his record is not a good record. I like him personally. He's actually a nice guy. He's a great promoter. He's really a promoter more than anything else. And I think he's,
Fauci didn't flip-flop. He adjusted based on the reality that they were getting. As more information came in and as the virus started to spread, then it became a warning. It's like saying there have been storm warnings, and that storm warning turns into a tornado warning, and then you can't go back and go, well, you didn't say anything about a tornado 18 hours ago. Well, that's because the tornadoes hadn't started forming. The wind didn't come up. We're finding this out. Get in the fucking basement.
I always say he's a better pitcher of a baseball than he is at what he does because he was wrong so much. If I would have listened to him, first of all, he said no masks. And very importantly, he didn't
say no masks.
Want to have China stop from coming in. If we would have done that, we would have had hundreds of thousands of more deaths in our country. And if you look at what we've done, we don't get fair public.
By the way, the European strain happened all through New York. And by the way, we never had a travel ban with Russia. Interestingly enough, and they had a major outbreak. They had a ban with us. Americans couldn't fly and come back, but Russians could fly here and leave. And they had more cases than us at one point.
Publicity, but what we've done, we've supplied, the cupboards were bare. We had nothing.
Oh, my God. And you left it that way, right? That's the argument. There's either two things. Either the cupboards weren't bare and you used what was there, or the cupboards were bare when you got in office and you left them that way for 3 fucking years.
From the previous administration. And we got all of the gowns and all of the masks and all of the if you take a look at the...
Why'd you get masks? Oh, right, because Fauci recommended it.
The machinery, the equipment that you need, it's massive. We took care of everything. And
the machinery is massive? What?
We really did a great job, but we stopped so many. But the big thing that I did is the vaccine, because the vaccine, a lot of people expected we were going to lose 2.2 million people.
No, they didn't. Nobody expected that. The 2.2 million factor, 2.2 to 5 million that everybody talked about was if you do nothing at all.
And
I mean, it's the same shit we heard last year. It's like one of those episodes of The Golden Girls where they just play clips from the show and go, remember that time Rose went to the circus?
It's going to be a
doodly-doo, doodly-doo, doodly-doo.
A number substantially lower than that. But the big thing that I did for the world, not only is I went to the FDA, I said, fellas, it's over.
Because it's all guys.
This is going to go fast. It would have taken 5 years for
it's over.
Another president. A guy like Biden would have taken 5 years.
Why? The whole world has been working on this.
For the vaccine to be approved.
Why?
And it would have never been approved. I think
would have never been approved. Never.
They would have had it. It would have, it goes from 5 to 12 years. I got it.
Yeah, it's just ballpark 5 to 12 years. Somewhere between 5 and 12 years is never.
Done in 9 months. And they did not like me. I will tell you that. They did not like me. And statutorily, they had to do things a certain way. I ended all. I said, we need the vaccine. We got it done in 9 months. I mean, they disliked me so much that it was approved like 2 days after the election because they could. And by the way, the only one that dislikes me more are the drug companies because what I did with favored nations.
That's what it was. Thank you, Bridget Benson. Is it odd listening? It makes me wish we were watching Gravel and Potatoes.
And everything else.
Oh, yeah.
Biden keeps my policies, drug prices will come way down to the lowest in the world. We'll be tied because of favored nations.
Oh, God.
That means we will match the lowest price.
No, it doesn't. If there's a low price and there's a high price, favored nations will balance the price out. The higher one will come down, the lower one will come up. That will be the baseline. They'll create a spectrum. Favored nations, that's how it works. Favored nations is like everybody gets the cheapest version.
in the world, which is...
How do you think they compensate for giving some countries that have less money the cheaper version if the countries with money don't subsidize it?
Much lower for the exact same drug or the exact same pill. So the drug companies took millions of dollars of advertisements against us, against
Again, we never saw these
me.
ads.
And, but I had to do what was right. Nobody else would have done favored nations against the drug companies. So if they leave that...
You didn't. You ordered a study on why we don't pay favored nations. You didn't create favored nations.
Place, and I did other things like transparency.
Cheers. I understand, Kate.
And other things. But, the people, I know the people love it. The problem is they won't see it for a little while. If they allow my policies to stay, we'll have tied for the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world. It'll be great. But Fauci's been so wrong, so has Birx. They've been so wrong.
Yeah, Birx especially.
And if I would...
You mean the one who never criticized you?
Have listened to them. And then they went to the other extreme, like the entire country should lock up. I didn't go for that. And, it just wasn't for me. I didn't go for that.
Yeah, it just didn't feel right.
And if you look, I allowed...
Made science schmience.
Governors like Ron DeSantis, who's done a great job. And
yeah, he's great. That's why they had to, arrest people on Miami Beach all weekend.
In Texas, as they've done a really good job. And
yeah, it's a huge spike in deaths.
In South Dakota, but many.
Yeah, South Dakota. Pick that one. Holy God. 1 second. Yeah, they did. They did awesome. They're humping right along. And then right about the time you're like, screw it, let's do it. August 18th, August 25th. Oh, look at that. And then it starts to come down a little bit. And then it evens out. And then it goes down. And now look at this. Look at this just constant running part right here. Just in a tiny state like that. Just hump, 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 hump. And it's going up right here. Yeah, just terrible. Here's what it was last year before it started to spread. Then it made it to the state because southern states and western states and low population states weren't impacted by the virus early. It took a little while to get there. People leaving New York and other places to go home during the lockdown and stuff spread it with them, and then they brought it here. And then, vink, there it is. And then starts to go down as people behave again, so they deal with it. And then it just stayed. Look at the number it was last year, humping right along. Look at it where it is right now, humping right along. About 10 times higher than it was. There you go. An hour ago, he just knew everybody. 29-year-old Irene Butcher loses battle with COVID-19. SD vaccine rollout opens up Group 1E on Monday. There you go. Gee, I wonder who's coordinating all that. But yeah, I mean, South Dakota, just awesome.
Places, I allowed them to keep open if they want. If they want to, the ones that shut...
leadership. Do what you want. I don't care.
Shut down are the ones that are doing the worst.
No, they're not.
You look at New York, you look at California. The ones that shut down are the ones that, the states that have done the worst. It's sort of amazing, to be honest, if you look at it.
Oh, God. Just the language is so tiring.
But they've done really terribly. They've ruined their economies. They've ruined their states. And
wait, sorry. Hold on. California, we're talking, I mean, that's who we're talking about, isn't it? Economic news. California. Tell me about California. Let's see who does the Gavin Newsom. He tweeted about that. I think they're gonna let's see. Hold on. I think it was on Twitter that he actually posted it. Let me find that real quick, if I may. I just want to look at the how's California doing compared to, say, some of the other states. Gavin There he is. And there's go. And then we'll just scroll through here. There he is. Our good old friend Gavin Newsom. Let's see. Let's scroll back through here and see what's been. Oh. California is now projecting $14.3 billion more in revenues than we were expecting in January, and $3.8 billion more in February. That means more money for small business, stimulus checks for Californians, money to reopen our schools. California tax revenue surges $14.3 billion above expectations. I mean, with the lockdowns, you'd think, that they would know that they were supposed to get broke and stay that way. Huh. Weird.
Their numbers aren't better. In fact, their numbers are worse.
Oh, my God.
Than the ones that have been much more open.
We're talking with the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, on The Truth with Lisa Booth. Back with more after this.
Okay, they're running ads on here.
He got his shot on December 21st, so I don't know if that was a bad moment.
By the way, this is the same thing. Let's see if he jumps. I mean, we've heard the big moment from this thing. There's 20 minutes left of this nonsense. All right.
Moment or what it was. I don't know if he meant that, but we had given millions of shots by that time, and we were up to 1.3 million shots a day. That was better than many of his days. Don't forget,
better than many of his days. It's done nothing but go up since.
As it gets put out there, you get more and more. I mean, just naturally. But we had
it just happened. It's like fruit. You know what I mean?
Operation Warp Speed was a.
Oh my God! How did I not expect that he would say Operation Warp Speed?
Captain's log.
Okay.
Amazing. But we came up with a vaccine during my administration in 9 months instead of 5 years.
Oh, did we? Because Pfizer and Moderna were the first ones, and they didn't participate in Operation Warp Speed. They just agreed to sell doses. They didn't interact with the team at all.
Or longer.
AstraZeneca did. Johnson & Johnson did. Those took longer.
And, there were many people, even people that aren't necessarily fans of mine, that say that was maybe...
You mean your family, or...?
One of the most important things ever done in this world.
In this world...
because this is beyond our country. This is, a worldwide incredible thing that's happened.
It's a worldwide incredible thing that's happening.
So the vaccines have been really, I think you'll see that more and more as time goes by. They've been
as time goes by,
something that's very special.
It's very special.
Interestingly, in 1917, you had the Spanish flu. It killed.
Damn it. 1918. Son of a...
Anywhere from 50 to 100 million people.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I mean, ballpark. Anywhere between 50 to 100. I mean, who's counting?
Could have been the same thing, because this
could have been the same thing.
Thing is really, not only is it devastating, it's so easily spread. It spreads so quickly, as you know.
Yeah, as we know from your Bob Woodward interview that you had before, you were telling people that it's no big deal.
No, and we could have been, if we didn't have a vaccine, it just didn't go away. Even now, you see in Europe, remember where they used to compare us to Europe, and there's so many, Germany, and well, look at how badly they're doing. They're having a hard time right now.
Yeah, they need a Joe Biden to help run their shit.
They're having a tremendously hard time.
Tremendous.
In Europe. But I'm sure you remember when they say, oh, Germany was doing better or somebody else is doing better. Not only are we doing well, but our recovery is much faster than anybody else.
Oh, my God. Look at our death rate, you dickhead.
We're the fastest to recover.
Because we were willing to kill 500,000 people?
Of anybody, because we built...
We're not even in recovery. We just passed a rescue act.
The foundation that was so strong. So it's been a...
Yes, I agree. The foundation was strong. From the Obama years.
It's been a great honor, I have to tell you that. And we've saved, tens of millions of lives. When they try and give everybody a hard time, you're over 500,000. We've saved tens of millions of lives with the vaccine.
Looking ahead to the midterms, how big of a role do you plan on having?
The fact that I give somebody an endorsement has meant the difference between a victory and a massive defeat.
That's true. A lot of them have seen massive defeat.
And
you endorsed Mitch McConnell, and he won, and you can't stand him. That's good. So your endorsements are just basically transactional bullshit.
I was 122-2 in the last cycle. 122-2 with the endorsement. I mean, think of that. And the 2 were people that, frankly, I did that. I did that as favors. There were people.
Yeah, I didn't really know him that much. I mean, it's not. I don't do them because I mean, it's important. I do it because
people that couldn't. It was.
Hello, Belfast.
Wasn't going to happen, and now everybody, the senators, they're all wanting endorsements. All of them
want it. Yeah, everybody's just lining up, bruh. They can't. Oh, I don't know how my thing got off.
The senators are wanting endorsements, other than a couple. Well, they'd like them too, but
yeah, totally. I mean, I wish I had a couple laying around. I might have an endorsement laying around here or whatever. Let me check. I think it was under my desk.
Murkowski's bad news. A guy like Ben Sass, little Ben Sass, he's a disaster for the party.
Oh, little Ben Sass. He's going back to the old school, insulting people with little kind of nicknames. That's adorable.
He came up. He was so nice to me for 2 years.
And then he, after spending some time with you, realized how awful you were?
Came up with Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz to see me. He was so nice, because started off nasty, then he became so nice. He just wanted the endorsement. When I gave him the endorsement, he's a Republican. I gave him the endorsement, and he ended up getting the nomination. Somebody would have run against him in Nebraska, would have beaten him so easy. But
yeah, totally.
He would have gotten beaten so easily.
How easily?
So what happened, he gets the nomination, and after he gets the nomination, he gets a little bit sassy again. The guy's a loser.
Yeah. By the way, it's hard for me to do my normal show when he's talking like this, because far be it from me to interrupt Trump when he's shitting on Republicans.
But we have, people like Murkowski. I don't think she's going to do very well. But we have a lot of people that are going to do very well. And I'm giving endorsements, and I'm endorsing people that have been good for us and good for the Republican Party and that have voted our way. And if they've said something a little bit off color with respect to me, I can handle that if they voted our way. So I'm endorsing some people that I think have been very good, and they're all going to win, and they're going to win big.
I wonder what Lisa's doing right now. Seriously, I think she's just kind of napping on the desk.
Who are the people right now that you think are part of the future of the Republican Party? Like those people that
Biff
you're
Tannen.
supportive of, that you just really like and you think are doing good things.
Yeah, tell us who the good ones are.
Well, I think we have a lot of people. We have a lot.
Yeah, lots of them.
A lot of young, good people.
Young, good people. Who are they?
Ron DeSantis is doing
He's a young dude. I think of him when I think of like those. He's very, he's no Matt Getz, but he's a whippersnapper.
Really good job in Florida, and I think Josh Hawley has shown some real courage in going after big tech. They go after him. Josh is terrific, and
he's awesome. He's not going to get reelected, but please endorse him.
Somebody that's been really terrific is Ted Cruz. Over the last, he and I had it out for a while. Actually, we were very close, even during the campaign, and then it got nasty. The press would say, "When's the nastiness going to start?" I said, "Don't worry, it'll start." And then it got very, very...
Is that what they said? When's the nastiness going to start? Don't worry, I've got some nastiness for Ted Cruz.
Rather violent and vicious. But then it simmered down, and he's been great. And
yeah, after it was violent and vicious, it simmered down.
Rand Paul has been great. A lot of people.
Yeah, people with a real shot, like Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. I mean, they've got president written all over them. I mean,
really, a lot of people have been terrific. Sarah Huckabee is going to do great in Arkansas. I think that Kristi Noem has done a terrific job. A lot of very good people, really very good people. The Republican Party is stacked.
If you don't end up,
it's stacked,
running in 2024, which
he's not going to.
I know a lot of people want you to. We all
not a lot
want you to.
No, they don't.
If it's not you, who is it?
So some of the names I guess I just mentioned, perhaps, and others. I mean,
yeah, there's lots of other people. But I mean, I don't have time.
I
mean, we're only halfway through the show, but
there's a pretty deep bench. I'll make that decision sometime later. But there's a pretty deep bench.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for Jim Jordan to run.
You look at the polls, but they love the job that I've done. We had a 97% approval. The CPAC, a 97% approval on policies and different things. Now,
he got 55% in the straw poll.
I have to say it's pretty easy when you look at the border and you look at what's happening. But I will say this, if you also look at other networks, they're not covering the border properly. They're making it a very small story relative to what it is.
What are you talking about? They're overdoing it.
You take a look at what's happening. They're not covering it.
Take a look at what's happening. Just take a look at what's happening. You got to take over a very short period of time. You got to take a look at what's happening, and we got to find out what's happening as you take a look at what's happening.
They don't cover the negative having to do with Biden and the Democrats. They don't cover negative things. You know that. You saw that happen during the campaign. It is so.
Yeah, they were so just protecting him every which way. Yeah.
So we don't have a free press.
No, it's terrible.
This is not a free press. This is a press that we.
No, this is a free podcast. I mean, there's some ads.
You have to be very, very smart to get around. But they don't cover bad things if it happens to be bad for Democrats. It's pretty amazing. You take a look at some of the coverage and some of the
it's terrible.
travesty that's taking place.
The travesty.
On the border. And the coverage is not commensurate if you look at NBC, ABC, CBS, and, of course, CNN and MSDNC. If you look at those networks, it's just not covered. It's covered so little. It's amazing. And
because you watch those all the time, I guess.
It's a massive story because it's going to destroy our country.
All right. Well, then I guess they'll have to cover it at some point.
I mean, I won in 2016. I won because of the border.
No, you won because 74,000 lefties sat out the election in 3 states.
In 2020, we didn't use the border, but I got many more votes than I got in 2016. Figure that one out.
Well, mail-in voting. It have made voting available for way more people. It just your margin wasn't strong enough to overtake Biden's, but the amount of the electorate that was able to vote went through the roof. Now, granted, it's my personal opinion that all the fake votes that supposedly Mike Lindell thinks he's found, if indeed they do exist, are ones that your allies in red states tried to load the machines with so that you would win. But that's another time. We'll talk about that. When I put out my own absolute proof movie.
If I get 66 million votes, you can't lose. So I got almost 75 million votes.
And you lost. Damn. I guess they were wrong.
But I don't view that as a loss. I view that as people know what happened there. It's
yeah, you lost.
Disgrace.
Yeah, it's a disgrace that you were even that you got votes.
Like a third world country.
Is it? Great.
But
so in 4 years, you turned America into a third world country. Is that what you're telling us?
And it's too bad. But
it is too bad.
I think we've got a lot of great people.
You do realize you were president at the end of that when it became a third world country.
Great people in the Republican Party.
Well, yeah, and the media was more unfair to you than they have ever been. Well, they're not even a media anymore. You're right. I mean,
no, definitely not. I mean, they're basically like stenographers for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders. That's why Biden won.
They're all biased left-wing hacks. It's essentially
totally just biased left-wing hacks.
Propagandists for the left. But I know a lot of people are wondering, because it's not just the media who really unfairly targeted you. It's also the DOJ. It's also the
Yeah, the DOJ unfairly targeted you. So please shit on Bill Barr.
FBI. I mean, they spied on you using the phony dossier, which these...
They didn't spy on him using the phony dossier. The dossier was paid for by the Washington Examiner. They sold it to the Clinton campaign. The Clinton campaign said, we can't use it. Steele said, there's crime in this. He took it to the FBI twice, and they took it to McCain, trying to make sure that they took it seriously.
CIA dismissed as an internet rumor, but it was good enough for them to take it to court and obtain FISA warrants against Carter Page.
They didn't use that to obtain warrants for Carter Page's activities. He was literally interacting with Sergei Kislyak and others, and he spoke at conferences in Russia. He was back and forth all the time. He was a courier. He was a paper courier for Trump.
Are we ever going to see the Durham report? Or is there ever...
Yeah, totally. I can't wait to see the Durham report. I'm sure it's a smoking gun.
Going to be any accountability?
It is so sad that...
So sad.
That took so long.
So long.
There was no reason, because if you took the Horowitz report, that's all they needed. The Horowitz,
yeah, that's all right. You
didn't even need another report. It is a very sad thing to see. Now let's see what happens. But
yeah, well, in a very short period of time, we'll see what happens.
When you can't have a report given in our administration, why would it have to come into this administration?
Yeah, I agree. What? If you can't have a report in your administration, that it would have to come into this administration? I mean, all right.
It is.
You mean that they should actually follow through with the investigation and actually look into stuff, as opposed to pretending they know the answer early on so they can just use it as a crowbar to help you try and win the election by creating the illusion the other side is criminal, that you wanted to... Oh, I see.
A very sad... It's a very sad thing.
It's so sad.
Just take a look at that Horowitz report.
Yeah, just take a look at it. I'll take a look at it.
You didn't need... I give a lot of respect for him. What he did to come out with that report...
So good.
He was appointed by Obama. He came out with a report that was so scathing on...
So scathing.
McCabe, and then so scathing on Comey.
So Comey scathing.
That even the New York Times wrote an article and an editorial on Comey that was just horrendous.
Oh, terrible.
And they didn't have to go there. They didn't have to even appoint Durham. No. All they had to do is take the information they already had. There's so much information as to corruptness and everything else, but they come after Republicans. No, it's very deep. It's a deep state, and it's very, very deep.
Is there anything you...
It's deeper than deep. It's the deep undercover.
You can tell us about the deep state that we don't know.
Yeah, tell us something about the deep state we all been dying to hear. Like, where is the adrenochrome machine? Is it under the White House, or is it at the Capitol?
Well, just that it does exist, and it is vicious.
Yeah, great. It does exist, and it's vicious.
It's vicious, and it's against the Republicans. And it's been there for many years. It's hard to root out.
If it's been there for many years, then how did Bush get elected? How did Republicans have Reagan into Bush 1, control for 12 years?
Some of it. And some of the people did a great job in rooting it out, and some of the people didn't do a good job in rooting it out.
Yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it?
But when you look at some of the things that they didn't do, they should be embarrassed.
Yeah, they should be embarrassed by the things they didn't do. Or should they be more embarrassed by the things they did do?
Because so much information was learned. We did a great job in finding the crime. We found many, many crimes. Yeah. Hey, look, the Ukraine thing was a hoax. The Mueller deal was a big hoax, and the real thing with Mueller, you saw what happened. It was the Democrats. Totally. And then you look at how...
It wasn't us. It was them. It was the Warriors.
How many people got away with so many different things?
You Warriors are good. Real good. The best.
It's truly hard to believe. And... that's why there's anger in this country, because the people get it.
That's why they're pissed.
Tremendous anger.
Couldn't be that they've been lied to and told that they're pedivore, cannibal, Satanists running the government. It's less about the election.
Anger in our country, because the people get it. They get it better than anybody else.
They get it better than people who aren't in the country.
Get it. The public gets it.
The public totally gets it, which is why Biden won by 81 million votes, and he's got a 62% approval rating.
And they get what happened in the election, too. The election.
Yes, they get what happened. Biden won, you lost, and you didn't like it, and you tried to have a violent insurrection to install you as a leader because you thought you were Putin.
It was a disgrace. They didn't go to the legislature for approval. Just if you look at that, the Supreme Court should be ashamed of themselves. Now, Justice...
By the way, remember this shit when they talk to you about the federal government wants to federalize elections.
Thomas and Justice Alito, I'm going to take them out because they really, they felt obviously different about what happened. But the Supreme Court should be ashamed of themselves. If you just take a look, forgetting about all the hoaxes, all the ballot manipulation, all of the many things that took place, so many things that took place. Forget all of that.
Yeah.
Much of this stuff was not approved by the state legislatures, and in the Constitution, it has to be. So
no, it doesn't. States can have pissing contests for distance and volume to choose their electoral, voters in this.
Just if you look at that.
Yeah, just look at that. They should have been able to put loyalists in and keep me in office even though I lost.
It's too bad that Mike Pence didn't go back, because I think you would have had a much different result had Mike Pence gone. He could have said, I'm sorry, but this was not approved by the state legislature.
Yeah, and he would have gone to jail because that's against the law.
And according to the Constitution, it has to be.
No, it doesn't.
And by that time, as you know, some of those legislatures, if you look at Arizona, if you look at Georgia,
we're trying to take back the vote of their citizens.
If you look at Pennsylvania, and you could go beyond that. I think if you look at Wisconsin, you look at Michigan, some of those legislatures were getting, and legislators were getting a good, they were saying, wow, this is.
Wow. Really? Like, can you tell this asshole has been watching a lot of videos?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Something. I mean, you had cases where you had more votes than you had people voting.
Wow.
Think of it. You had more
No, you didn't.
votes than you had people voting.
No, you didn't.
So Mike Pence could have sent it back and said...
And they would have gone, what the fuck is this? We didn't have more people voting than we have votes.
I'm sorry, but you'll have to check this out.
Or more votes than we had people voting.
And many of those votes were gotten, and some very late in the process. Some of those votes...
Jesus Christ. Listen to this asshole.
Of those decisions that were made just before the election.
Wow.
And as you know, I think you agree with this, Lisa, it has to go through the legislature. The state legislatures have to approve all of these rules and regulations.
This is going to reveal all the evil in our country
that they were putting in. You can't do it with a local judge. You can't do it with a politician, with a local politician. It was up to the state legislatures. They couldn't get them to approve. They were Republican. They couldn't get them to approve it, so they just did it themselves. That's a total violation of the Constitution.
No, it isn't.
And the Supreme Court didn't want to hear it. They didn't rule on the facts. They ruled on things like no standing.
Right. You can't tell another state how to do it. By the way, that's what the complaint in the Republicans is that H.R. 1 is the federal government telling states how to do this. So if H.R. 1 had been in place and this had legitimately been fraud, those 20 attorneys general suing the other ones would have actually had some level of standing.
Accused snatch.
Right.
Process. They should be ashamed of themselves. And you know what's going to be interesting?
What's going to be interesting? I can't wait to hear.
It's ironic.
What?
Because it could be court packing. And because...
Oh, my God. Court packing.
Wow.
Of their ruling not to do an overturn. And by the way, all of the areas that I'm talking about were election changing. It's not like, 12 votes were affected. No, far more. You know, I was very close in all of these states. Far more votes than we needed.
Yes, there's another Rudy video. We're not doing that tonight.
Far more. Not even close.
Somebody who's asking in the chat.
But it's also H.R. 1 because a lot of the frustrations you have with the mail-in balloting and, you know, the fact that ballots were still being counted after Election Day, that would essentially be...
Wait a minute. They were counting ballots after Election Day? You mean mail-in ballots were being counted?
Codified into law. If H.R. 1 passed, it would make it very, very difficult for Republicans to win elections.
Why? Can't they convince a dominant number of people to vote their way?
Moving forward, I mean, how serious should Republicans be taking H.R. 1 as Democrats try to push it through Congress?
They should be shitting the bed because it will make it harder for them to steal voting machines and ballots and the ability for people to vote across the country, and it will be, okay.
Well, I think we need better leadership than Mitch McConnell and stronger.
Agree. Please shit on him. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
Leadership.
What?
I mean, he can't rein in his own people. We
What?
have the Mitt Romneys of the world and, you know, the Ben Sasses of the world. These are not good for the Republican Party. These are not people that are good. He's got to be able to rein them in. So we need better than Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
And, you know, you really do. This is big stuff. And now they knock out the filibuster. It's going to be a real problem. I mean, they knock out the filibuster, they're going to have a free-for-all. And I told Mitch McConnell from almost the first day. I said, look, the first thing they're going to do is knock out the filibuster. So if they're going to knock it out, maybe we should and get everything that we want. He said they'll never knock it out. It'll never happen. They'll never do it. They don't want to do it. I said they're going to do it. If they ever get a chance, they'll do it. And he actually now has admitted that I was right.
Wow.
Too bad.
You know, I go back to what you said during the week of the RNC convention. And during your speech, I thought it was one of the best quotes I've heard from you. You said that for 47 years, Joe Biden has been hugging, kissing union workers, taking their donations, and then going back to Washington, D.C. and voting to send their jobs back to China and other foreign lands. And it's only been a few weeks. And that's essentially what's already happened. And we saw the cancellation of the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah, now they're going to... Can you imagine this? This is terrible. All those Keystone Pipeline jobs, they're going to build a pipeline in China. They're going to pipe Canadian shale oil to the American Gulf through China.
He's nuked construction along the southern border.
Yeah. All those jobs. Now they're going to build, I heard they're going to build a Great Wall in China with all the jobs lost, building a wall.
He's not moving forward with certain oil and gas sale or leases.
Yeah, certain oil and gas sale or leases. So he is moving forward with some, just not the ones on public lands that would poison the aquifers.
The list goes on.
On and on and on.
And some of these energy policies that is going to do exactly like what you said. But,
totally.
My question on all this is, are the Bidens bought and paid for by China?
Yes, but beyond bought and paid for, this is not what he campaigned on. He never thought, this is more radical, what he's doing. And I don't even think it's him. I think it's the cabal.
Wow.
This is more radical than anything that he campaigned on, but this is more radical than Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, I don't know why the left doesn't just love everything that Biden does, because it's obviously borderline Marxism, everything.
Bernie Sanders never dreamt that they were going to be approving things like they're approving.
Why? I don't know what his dreams curtail. I think obviously the Democratic Party's been, against the Keystone Pipeline for, 8-10 years now.
And it's unbelievable what's happening.
It's totally unbelievable.
This is far more than Bernie Sanders ever thought was possible. And it's disgraceful.
And it took Joe Biden to get it done.
And they're trying to destroy our country.
But what about all those jobs lost, too?
Yeah, honestly, all those Chinese people that are going to be now doing the Keystone Pipeline.
You've got, tens of thousands of jobs for the Keystone Pipeline loss. We're going to see a lot more energy jobs go away. And you've got people like John Kerry who are basically learn to build solar panels, which is essentially telling them, to learn to code.
What? How hard do you think it is to assemble a solar panel? The fuck are you talking about?
What's your message to
I'm sorry, are you saying that people who build pipelines, the construction people and the foremen and all those people, couldn't work at an auto plant because they're too stupid?
A lot of those American workers who are suffering right now are worried about the future of their jobs.
Well, when Biden campaigned, I know everything he said, and we
had
debates.
I'm sure these will be perfect quotes.
And the debates were very good. And
he beat you handily, and Bernie Sanders for that matter.
He campaigned. He never talked about any of this. He never talked about closing the Keystone.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't. I wouldn't say he said he was going to keep it, but he certainly didn't indicate that he was going to, in his almost first week, immediately get rid of. And it's really.
I swear to God, do we have to? Biden promises to stop Keystone Pipeline campaign 2020. May 18th, 2020. May I? I know it's a little cryptic. If any of you need me to explain what those words mean, perhaps the president is in cable. I mean, it's some left-wing news media thing. I don't even think Trump could have seen this. Oh, it's Reuters. Democrat Biden says he would kill Keystone XL pipeline. Well, probably not right away. Probably wait a few months, then kill it. Build a bunch of useless pipeline just for shits and giggles, and then kill it right as they're about to finish. Joe Biden's campaign said on Monday that if elected, the presumptive Democratic nominee would rescind the permit for Keystone XL pipeline, which would effectively doom the long-troubled project. In doing so, Biden would reverse actions taken by President Donald Trump, who in 2017 cleared the way for the $8 billion oil sands pipeline to built across the U.S.-Canada border. Pipeline to be built? Yeah, sure. Trump, a Republican, really? Since when? Let's see. Biden strongly opposed Keystone Pipeline in the last administration, stood alongside President Obama and John Kerry to reject it in 2015, would proudly stand in the Roosevelt Room again as president and stop it for good by rescinding the Keystone Pipeline permit. That's pretty direct. I'm just going to say, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that he kind of did say it. May 2020.
42,000 jobs, not 8,000 jobs. If you look at it, it's
not so much. Just saying. Just want to let that sit there for a second. Okay.
probably even more than that.
Criminy. Like how?
But he never talked about the Keystone pipeline that
It probably just came up once. You know what? My bad. Let's go back. There's probably not a lot of articles. Let's see. Reuters, May 18th. Democrat Biden said kill it. Washington Post, May 18th. Biden says he was send Keystone. In Inside Climate News, November 24th. Biden has promised to kill the Keystone while using the words that Trump is talking about. Activists hope they're urging Biden delivers on promise to cancel Keystone Pipeline January 20th. Biden's cancellation of the Keystone Pipeline is one of the greatest environmental battles. Also got to get Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Here's what he said: "Blast Keystone. I call it tar sands we don't need." May 22nd. Here you go. You want to try to jump in there and see this thing? Presidential candidate doubles down in an interview on campaign's promise to cancel pipeline from Canada. Biden has criticized the Canadian tar sands oil, doubling down on his promise to scrap the Keystone XL pipeline if he's elected president in November. I've been against the Keystone Pipeline from the beginning. That it is tar sands that we don't need, and the fact is, it's a very, very high pollutant, Biden said Friday. When pressed by an interview about the damage this pledge might do to the oil industry, Biden replied that he doesn't want to shut down all projects immediately. Not all projects. He brushed off, however, the importance of Alberta to Texas pipeline to the U.S. industry. We're going to transition gradually to get to a clean economy, but the idea of shutting down Keystone as if it were the thing that keeps the oil industry moving is just not rational. It does not economically, nor in my view, environmentally make any sense. He never really even talked about it. I mean, it totally blindsided us. Guys, who could have seen this coming? His remarks were reaffirmed in a statement released by his campaign earlier this week. Alberta Premier John Kenney said this week Biden would have a hard time explaining to Americans why he'd kill a partly finished project. Yeah, here's the reason. Because finished, it would damage the environment and it's unnecessary. But I'm sorry, what was that again about? He never even talked about it?
He was going to close up. How can you do a thing like this?
Well, he obviously, but here it is. Let's check. Let's see. Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline. That would be I guess he did it like that. I guess he did it with, did I say Jason Kenney? Sorry. More than 20 Republican-led states sue Biden for canceling the Keystone XL pipeline. It's the latest event in the more than 10-year struggle over the Keystone Expansion Pipeline. I'm just saying, hype train. I love it when I get a hype train just for an instant fact check. Very proud.
It was passed. It went through Congress. All sorts of things happened.
And it was stupid.
What about the company? You know,
what about them?
Talk about all of the people that.
What about the water it was going to poison?
They're devastated. Some company put up billions and billions of dollars. You know.
And
the thing is half built, and then all of a sudden they.
So that's why you didn't cancel the F-35. I see.
Come along and they say we're going to close it down. People invested all of their money following the pipeline. They opened businesses.
They greased the palms of Republicans across the country.
Little hotels for the people to stay in, and they fixed.
It's an attack on little hotels.
Them, and then all of a sudden, in one day, it's gone. But he never said that during the campaign. On
Biden has promised to kill the Keystone XL pipeline. It's climate news. Pfft, lefties.
Energy, he was, pretty positive on energy. And now we're not going to be energy independent in another few months based
Why?
on what he's doing.
Why?
Gas prices are going through the roof. I mean, he never talked about this stuff. He never said, this is far more radical than what he was talking about. This is more radical.
This is literally what he campaigned on and won on.
Radical than anything Bernie Sanders ever thought.
Sorry. Now I have to do this too? Hold on. Let's just look up Bernie Sanders Keystone Pipeline. Let's see. Let's see. This is how we're gonna go. This is the most important thing we've seen. Okay, hold on. Why isn't this page opening? That's weird. There it is. This is the most. Remember what Trump just said. This is far greater than anything that Bernie Sanders could hope for, that he would even try. Right. Hang on for 1 second. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourself. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Be right back. After this. Again. There you go. It's fun to watch the chat go by as I fix stuff. And it's nice that everybody's here with us today as well. And let me see if I can do this. We can start kind of thing. There you go. We got a level 2 hype train happening. It's fun. So I just wanted to point that out, if I may. Sanders votes no on Keystone XL pipeline. So apparently it's not beyond his wildest dreams. He actually voted against it in the start. So, yeah. Just saying. All right. But please tell us.
It's possible. It's crazy.
Well, now raising taxes, too.
Oh, my God.
I mean, now he's going to raise...
He's at a record. Yeah, record level.
More from President Trump after this.
I want him to do well. But that doesn't include closing up the Keystone Pipeline, which, by the way, environmentally is much better than having them on trains. But his friend...
No, it isn't.
...and supporter Warren Buffett has trains. Nobody ever talks about that. Warren Buffett.
His friend Warren Buffett has trains.
Buffett has trains. and he doesn't want to see a pipeline. His train business is dead going to the Gulf, okay? Dead. I mean, think of that. Does anybody... I've never even heard that point brought up.
Yeah, because it's fucking ridiculous.
But he's one of his big supporters.
My trains are happening. My hype trains. Thanks, everybody, on Twitch, by the way. Twitch.tv/Hal Sparks. Don't forget, you can use your Amazon Prime account to subscribe for free and help out the show. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Leave a comment and give a thumbs down if you're angry at me for correcting your Führer and you're very upset about that. Because remember, trolls, the internet doesn't care whether you like me or not. It just wants your eyeballs locked right here. And so just being here, yeah, help me out.
Liberal guy, and his trains, his railroad would be devastated with the pipeline. So all of a sudden it's cut. Now, I don't know if he'd cut it for that reason.
No, I don't know. I just might as well make shit up.
But it couldn't be for environmental reasons because a pipeline is much better than trucks and trains. But
why does the oil have to cross our land to start with? Why does it have to get to the Gulf? It's not ours. So why can't it go east to the ocean that way or west? Why does it have to come through? All right.
Far. It's also much safer. You know, when you have an explosion, when you have a truck goes wrong, when you have a train goes wrong, it's a devastation. So, but he never talked about closing.
Yeah, that's Biden is the pro-explosion candidate.
But he never talked about the kinds of things on the Second Amendment that they're talking about. Wait till you see what they do to the Second Amendment.
Oh, I'll keep waiting. Yep. I'm still waiting.
They're going to devastate the Second Amendment.
Yeah, it's basically over. I mean, I don't like.
So the Republicans.
The why don't you buy a shotgun president is totally going to devastate the Second Amendment.
Kids have to get a lot tougher, and they have to get a lot smarter. But you have a lot of great ones, and I think we're going to do very well in 22, and I think we're going to do very well in 24.
Yeah, sure. And you also think you won the last election, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to balance your other thoughts with that idea.
I think so too. I mean, I pray because we can't deal with former years of this and not have.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Level 3 hype train.
Republicans win the midterm elections, particularly as you're talking about. They're talking about going after the Second Amendment. They're talking about H.R. 1 and codifying.
They're not talking about it. They're not talking about. No one's talking about going after the Second Amendment. No one.
All the concerns that
they just background checks, closing gun show loopholes, assault weapons ban. This isn't going after the Second Amendment.
Republicans had with the 2020 midterm elections, or the.
You want to go after the Second Amendment? How about this? Do what Republicans do. The biggest attack on the Second Amendment is shitting on the idea of it being well regulated. Kind of a crucial part of the Second Amendment. And if you were a Second Amendment purist, a Second Amendment absolutist, one would think you would factor that in.
The 2020 general election into law. I mean, they're talking about things that are fundamentally transforming the United States. So it's very concerning. We appreciate the role you're playing in the midterm elections.
Me too. I can't wait.
Is incredibly important.
Totally.
You've got to fight like hell. These are very bad people in many cases. You know, it's hard to say, but these are very bad people.
Why is it hard to say? Oh, right, because your teeth slip.
And they're doing horrible things to our country, whether it's the border or energy or the Second
hype train
Amendment. A lot of bad things are happening, and we have to stop them.
And
to stop them, we have to be very smart, and we have to be tough.
Uh-oh. Well, I seem to see a flaw in your plan.
They're vicious. They will do things that the Republicans don't even think about doing. It's just
like what?
Unbelievable. You look at all the impeachment nonsense. It was all nonsense. And now if you look at what they used what happened in Georgia as part of their impeachment, and that turned out to be a scam. You saw that the other...
A scam? You're facing charges in that state.
The day where they put in language, where they have language that didn't even exist. Okay? They were...
Language that didn't even exist? What in the world? What's language that didn't... Oh, I know what he's talking about. He means or
free health care for illegal
look. You know, language that doesn't really exist.
Illegal look.
Quoting me, and it turned out, and they tried to get rid of the tape, which is obstruction of justice.
No, it isn't.
They tried to get rid of the tape, and some very good person said, "Excuse me, you can't do that. Here's the tape." They found it in the wastepaper basket.
In the wastepaper basket? They found the tape in the wastepaper basket. You mean the file was in the trash? The one that incriminated you?
Okay, in the wastebasket, they call it. And, I mean, think of it. Think of it.
Who calls it that?
So we have to be very, very smart, have to be strong.
Well, that's going to be a problem.
But they're vicious. There's no question about it. They're vicious people.
Oh, it's brutal.
Are you going to sue the Washington Post?
Yeah, please do.
They really did give a very powerful statement that it didn't take place. So in one way, I
no, they didn't.
Respect that they did it. I was actually surprised that they did it. I guess pressure was put on them pretty strongly, but they
by their editors to clarify.
Said, we have to go public with this. They were given false information from the people that run the elections. Think of that in Georgia. I mean, Georgia's a mess. Georgia, the elections were a mess.
Oh,
but they were given this. This came
brutal.
out of the people that run the elections, the office of the people that run the elections.
Can you imagine?
And then they tried to throw the tape away. It was a phony tape. It never took place. Think of that.
It was a phony tape. It never took place.
So in one way, I respect the Washington
How is it? What?
Post for posting it, for changing it. I think, in one way, I really do. I respect it. It shouldn't have happened in the first place, but I respect that they were willing to, do whatever they had to do. And they did. It was
You mean issue a retraction. And they didn't. They issued a clarification, not a retraction. But whatever.
Very strong statement they put up. I
so strong.
Respect that.
Just the strongest.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone.
I don't know what you're gonna say, but I'm gonna guess you're wrong.
Has been lied about more than you have.
Yep, you're wrong. Yeah.
By the media. I mean, the media, even the
Oh, by the media, I suppose. You mean Fox and OAN and Newsmax and that media lying that that he actually won and that he's actually good at his job and that. Oh, I see.
Charlottesville.
That he's a Christian.
I mean, that went on for years. And if anyone, I got so frustrated because if anyone just read the transcript, you were clearly denouncing the KKK and the neo-Nazis. You were saying they were terrible people. You were,
But you were also celebrating Confederacy. And you were saying that people were there because it was a beautiful statue of Robert E. Lee, and those were very fine people. It was just their heritage, the slave-protecting, anti-American Confederacy. That they were just, fine people.
You condemned them. I mean, you absolutely condemned them, but that lie went on for years.
They should do retractions like they did here. They should do retractions for that. Nobody does. I still hear that about Charlottesville. And all you had to do is listen to the next sentence. If you listen one more sentence.
Yeah, they go, I'm against the Klan and neo-Nazis and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever rubber stamp you want me to call it. But at the same time, I'm going to support people who wish the Confederacy had won, who live in the South shall rise again thing, that support the alternative constitution of the Confederacy and worship a statue of Robert E. Lee because he would fight to preserve slavery.
You'd see.
I can't imagine why anybody would call bullshit on the rest of the statement.
That what I said was, as I say all the time, it was perfect, okay? But what I said was absolutely...
Totally perfect. I mean, it's so perfect. Oddly, one would think that a perfect statement wouldn't even be able to be misconstrued. But whatever.
Perfect. And it was an absolute disgrace, that whole Charlottesville thing. And how they try.
By the way, thanks for all the new subscription, everybody. We had dropped a little bit, and I appreciate you guys jumping back in and subscribing on twitch.tv/Hal Sparks. I greatly appreciate that.
To pin false statements to me, but that was like what happened in Georgia. But the retraction from the Washington Post was the strongest retraction I've ever seen from them. And so in that respect, I
okay. I can't keep like dragging the goddamn thing. Okay, hold on. Washington. This is so aggravating. Post Trump retraction. Let's see. There he goes. Opinion. The Post publishes correction. Trump called.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you would. Okay, here we go. Let me guess. It totally exonerates you, and you were wholly innocent, and they just, like, you can't believe that they lie to you about that thing. On January 9th, the Post reported that then President Trump Frances Watson had instructed her to, quote, find the fraud. He mentioned that she would become a national hero, reported the paper. In both cases, the quotes were wrong. Post has acknowledged in a correction to the story. Okay, let's look at that. Trump pressured Georgia election investigator in a special call legal experts say could amount to obstruction. Correction. 2 months ago, after publication of the story, the Georgia Secretary of State released an audio recording of the President Trump's separate phone call to the state's top elections investigator. The recording revealed that the Post misquoted Trump's comments on the call based on the information provided by the source. Trump did not tell the investigator to, quote, find the fraud, or say that she would be a national hero if she did so. Instead, Trump urged the investigator to scrutinize ballots in Fulton County, Georgia, asserting she would find dishonesty there. And he also told her that she had the most important job in the country right now. A story about the recording can be found here. The headline and text of the story have been corrected to remove quotes misattributed to Trump. So somebody else said them, and they were misattributed to him. Raffensperger confirmed Trump. This was an ongoing investigation. The White House didn't respond. Since election day, Trump has made at least 3 calls to government officials in Georgia to attempt to subvert President-elect Joe Biden's victory, beginning with a conversation with Governor Brian Kemp. Trump calls Georgia governor to pressure him for help overturning Biden's win in the state. They're going to demand an audit of signatures. Here's the, let's see, the governor later referred to his conversation with Trump in a midday tweet, noting that he told the president he'd already publicly advocated for a signature audit. Kemp's spokesman, Cody Hall, confirmed that the 2 men spoke. Campaign spokesman Tim Murtaugh declined to comment. So, yeah. Let's see. Unable to stop the certification of the votes. Despite that, the president continued to lash out at the results. On the call Saturday, Kemp told the president his family was mourning the death of a family friend, a staffer for Kelly Loeffler, who had been killed in a car crash. Trump then offered his condolences. According to people, said this was not a condolence call. This was Kemp being, but that was not the purpose of the president's call. The president added, this was not a condolences call. This was Kemp being chewed out by Trump. That's still in there. Trump did not commit a crime. Such a move would undermine public confidence in the Constitution system. There we go. Thank you, Benny Loco. Let's see. Here you go. Your governor could stop it very easily if he knew what the hell he was doing, the president said. He added, so far we haven't been able to find the people in Georgia willing to do the right thing. He called the governor hapless. Tune in tonight. Stop reporting the fake news from Kemp tweeted, as I told the president this morning, I publicly called for signature audit 3 times. And they had it, and they passed, and yada, yada. President tweeted back, but you never got the signature verification. Your people are refusing to do what you ask. What are they hiding? At least immediately ask for a special session of the legislature. You can easily and immediately do hashtag transparency. It's good to get it in there with all the other transparency hashtags.
What they should do now is they should find out who gave it. They do know that, by the way, who made the statement, because the statement that they printed was fraudulent. It was fraudulent. And they should also reveal who found the tape, because
they did.
People that found the tape.
They did.
That was a terrific thing that they did. Who would think that they would find the tape, listen to the tape?
It's not a tape. It's a recording of a phone call.
And report it. They did a great service to the country.
Yeah, that's what they do.
It's nice to see someone finally telling the truth there. But
finally, they do that all the time. This is just the first time it's benefited you.
Correct me if I'm wrong. With Charlottesville, what you're talking about is you were saying that,
This is Lisa Booth, daughter of the Confederacy, talking.
There were people that were there who just didn't want to see the statue taken down because...
Because why? Why wouldn't you want to take a statue of Robert E. Lee down?
You had warned previously is that then it's going to be George Washington. Then
Totally. It's a slippery slope.
It's going to be Abraham Lincoln. Then we go down this sort of slippery slope of canceling our history and sort of destruction of
our history. Robert E. Lee is not our history. He's a historical figure, but he's not our history. Lincoln, Washington, and et al. Are.
History, but that's what we're witnessing today. And it's not just, our history. It's things like Dr. Seuss. It's taking a sledge.
Yeah. Yeah. You take down Robert E. Lee, it's a slippery slope to 6 Dr. Seuss books being taken out of print while the rest of them are still available.
Hammer to, all these different things.
Please go to Mr. Potato Head. Please can we replace Robert E. Lee with a big giant statue of Mr. Potato Head?
And
trans Mr. Potato Head.
Where does this all go?
Yeah, where does it go? Bring us home, sir.
With where we are today.
Where are we?
I stopped it. I took an old law that hadn't been used in many
This is the 10,000. Yeah, that statue's been taken
decades, and I modernized it, brought it up, and signed it. And once I did that, people stopped ripping down statues, federal statues. But at Charlottesville, they were there. Many people were there to stop the taking down of a magnificent statue.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was really not about who it was, but just the craftsmanship.
Statue of Robert E. Lee.
Yeah. I mean, what did he do so wrong?
And they were there for that reason.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
And, they ultimately it came down.
Uh-huh.
It's terrible. Now you have Dr. Seuss and you have many other things.
Yeah, Mr. Potato Head.
This is really, you're taking the soul away from our country.
Why is the removal of 6 old books that don't sell from a catalog of an author that has dozens of books still for sale, and the statue of a Confederate general who was defending slavery, removing the soul of our country?
And there were some nasty things in the past, but you learn from
the nasty,
the bad things, and then
you learn from them. Yeah, here's what I learned: don't put a goddamn statue up of people who do. Why would I not? Why don't we just put a statue of Hitler or Mussolini? Why don't we do that? Where's our Genghis Khan statue while we're at it? How about that? Why don't we just have a matching Columbus and Cortez dual statues everywhere?
Nasty things and things that were done wrong. You learn that's part of history.
Right. So, which is why there won't be a Trump statue.
You learn, and if you're not going to hear about it,
you can hear about it. It'll be in. Why would it get a statue? There's not a statue for every fucking thing that's happened in history.
You're not going to learn, and you'll make the same mistake again.
That's right. The big Mao statue. I mean, does anybody even know what happened in China? We're going to need a Mao statue on every corner to remind people.
But that whole...
Yeah, where's the King George statues? Exactly, Diane. Yeah, that's why isn't somebody putting up a giant statue of King George everywhere to remind everybody why we fought the Revolutionary War? You know what I mean?
Charlottesville. And they still say it about me. Oh, Charlottesville. If they take a look at the next sentence, meaning of a tape, I assume...
Jesus.
But they take a look at it was perfect, and they all know it. But they're very dishonest people. Look, the media has been exposed as being unbelievably corrupt and dishonest.
Well, obviously there's a believability to it because you were just saying that they corrected something and made it right.
And you've done your...
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, this is her first podcast, and already it's just,
job. I mean,
I think this is the end of podcasts. Nobody does better.
And I know where you're coming, and it takes courage to do what you do.
It totally does. Who does pink and white?
And frankly, Fox was much different in 2016 than they were in 2020. Fox was like a different world.
Terrible.
So I say...
and A Different World was, honest to God, a horrible show. It was basically live action Alf without the puppet, and it just...
That was one of the biggest differences. And yet, I got almost 75 million from 63 million. And I went up, somebody said, well, it's too bad. Well, we did much better in the second election than we did in the first election.
And Biden did much better than anybody in any election. So there.
Much better.
It almost seems like you can get more voters if you let more people vote.
In every way. If you look at with African American, with Asian American, with women, with Hispanic.
Tell us about the percentage. It's so easy to double small numbers.
We did much better in every single way.
Where's my statue? I'm a Kentucky Colonel. I agree. Yeah, they should put me on Man o' War's back in Lexington.
And it was a rigged election, and that's a shame.
It's such a shame. Tell us.
Almost as if, I kind of feel, I sort of question, it's almost as we're not really free anymore.
Yeah, it's so like we're not free anymore. I mean, I look really happy in my picture, but that's just the sadness. I'm not free anymore. I'm now, because I'm with Newt, I'm spoken for.
The country, I mean, you go back over the past few months, you have states like New York and California still locked down. We have this censorship that exists in the media. You've got big tech deplatforming people.
Horrifying.
But we all saw.
It's amazing. I mean, I was just seeing, Ben Shapiro tweeting the same thing.
What happened to Parler?
I know. And here you are. I mean, like the amount of censorship, Lisa, that you have to deal with, that, you can't even get your podcast on any of the major, on big tech. I mean, she's right. The mainstream media is broken. Groupthink, fake news, and distrust are just a few words to describe it. It's almost as if no one's trying, oh, look at that. And it's got a great picture of him clapping for himself. It's so good. I mean, and yet, if only for big tech, would she be able to, I don't know, she can't even get on any of the places that she's being censored.
What happened to you as well. I mean, are we still a free society with all of this stuff going?
No. I mean, he can't even golf anymore, except when he's golfing.
God.
No, we don't have freedom of the press.
No, definitely not.
One thing, certainly. You don't have freedom of the press. The big tech has gone wild.
Yeah, I have some of those videotapes from back in the day.
And I'm able to get the word out because, I'm able to get it, and then everybody picks it up, including big tech, which is sort of interesting. But
sort of interesting because you're lying?
Other people, when they get canceled, they don't have that. They can't put out a press release that, everybody picks up.
Yeah, neither can you.
It doesn't work that way. No, you don't have it anymore. You don't have freedom of the press is absolutely gone.
It's just gone. It's terrible.
And the press is just very dishonest.
Yeah, all of them.
You see the way they cover the border. They basically don't like talking about the border because it's horrible what's happened on the border. But they don't want to talk about the border. They're not going to talk about the border and other things, plenty of other things.
Yeah, I mean, not just the border. Clearly, Trump's height, his weight, his relationship, how his golf courses are doing. They're all doing fabulous.
I could go through.
He's 2 inches taller since he left office.
A whole list. But it's really a terrible thing. It's never happened to this extent ever before.
Terrible.
Never happened.
Never.
Do I think they hate you so much? So I think it's because...
Yeah, tell us why. Bring it home, Lisa Booth. Why do people hate Trump so much? And obviously we're not talking about E. Jean Carroll or any of the women who have accused him of sexual assault. Other people. Why do other people in the media hate him so much?
Is it Republicans in the past sort of accepted the premise of questions being asked to them by the media? They sort of accepted the narrative. Like, for instance, with Mitt Romney, he gets asked about women and, if he supports women or whatever. And his response is, oh, I have a binder full of them, right? You get asked that question. You're like,
chicks, fuck that.
Next. That's a dumb question.
That's a dumb question. Who wants women working in power? I have a couple of them, but only the ones that can make me money.
Or the first interview you did, I think it was with ABC, and they asked you about the Women's March. And you were like, oh, well, March for Life is coming up, but you don't ask about that. And David Muir's face dropped because they were so used to Republicans just accepting, these BS premises that were being put in front of them.
Yeah, women's marches are BS.
You rejected them. You didn't play the media's game. And that's why I think they don't like you.
But a lot of people do. And, it's really politics through common sense because a lot of people say,
oh, yeah, he's been watching a lot of Rudy.
Are you a conservative? You know what it is? It's common sense. A lot of it is common sense.
Yeah, and Rudy's got a new episode coming out soon. I have no doubt.
The wall. It's interesting. The Democrats stick together. Republicans don't.
Yep. And what you want running the country is a bunch of random, weak people who can't get it together and never stick together. That's who you want running America.
No, I said, where is their Romney? Where is their Little Ben Sass? Where are these people in the...
You mean Manchin and Sinema? You know, that there's some differentiate, you know, like, you mean, you know, the Squad and Bernie when they were talking about holding up the vote on the... All right.
Manchin always comes through for them. You know, he's going to come through again. You just watch. I've watched it for a long time with him. You know, get some publicity, and then he ends up coming through. But they stick.
You mean as a Democrat?
Together.
I love when he repeats entire sections like he hasn't said the same shit again.
Smart and they're vicious, but they have lousy policy.
Yeah, but there's. I mean, you can run on smart and vicious. I mean, I think that was what. I think is that what you're most angry about? Is that you ran on smart and vicious, and they turned out to be smart and vicious?
Fund the police, sanctuary cities, don't build the wall. So their policies are so bad that it hurts.
That's the policy?
Them. Now, if they had better policy, they'd be tougher because they do stick together better than the Republicans. But that's because the Republicans need better leadership. They need stronger leadership.
Right, Mr. President. I know you've got, I don't want to take up much more of your time. I know
you got some golfing to do, and you've got another interview with Greg Kelly.
Got a busy day, but
yeah,
it is
taking every interview.
Such an honor to talk to you. You are welcome here anytime. I would love to have you back on the podcast, and it is beyond an
We'd love to have anybody on the podcast. This is episode 1.
Honor to have you as my very first guest on this podcast. So I just want to thank you for taking the time.
And by taking the time, I mean calling in like you do and griping on Fox, on Maria's show, on Greg Kelly's show.
And Lisa, on behalf of a lot of people, thank you for everything. Your voice has been incredible. It's been strong.
Yeah, nobody has a podcast like this. The reach, I mean, Mark Maron, Joe Rogan, none of these folks have any of the, Mueller, she wrote, This American Life, I mean, just dead in the water.
And you're definitely not afraid, and that's something that we need. So we need more of that, and it's great to do your first show, and you're going to have many. You're going to do very well because you're somebody that people respect greatly. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you, sir. That means the world coming from you. I really appreciate it.
That's it. That's the end of it. Good God. I'm not doing these. Not today. That's Greg Kelly calls in. It's going to be the same shit. It's going to be the same shit. It's going to be the same shit. He's going to repeat the same crap again. We'll do that tomorrow maybe. And I do have Rand Paul. Remember, you know the weirdo Christians at Victory News? They have Rand Paul on as a guest. 95 illegal immigrants part of a large-scale Mexican human smuggling attempt. So 95 is a large-scale attempt? Compared to what? 12? 95. All right. We'll deal with that stuff tomorrow. And then, of course, there's umpteen stories still dealing with, and, of course, we dealt with that part this morning. I'll let you guys go. I've got to go eat something. And let's see. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a regular show time-wise. And so I will see you guys at 3 o'clock. And then this weekend, if you go to alamedacomedy.com, you can find links to my shows this weekend where you can watch it live. Everybody who's a patron, they're going to give me copies of the shows, and I will post them to you guys. So you don't have to buy tickets if you don't want to. But everybody else, I will post them over time. They'll be a bit later, but if you want to see them sooner rather than later, then I recommend you get a ticket now or you whatever. Yeah, so there you go. That's for the followers, not the subscribers, as it were. I'll find some way to post one of them, that kind of thing, because I hate putting stuff behind a paywall, but I also feel like, I got to honor my patrons with some stuff. And I'm waiting for one more thing to arrive, and then we're sending out the blue patches and all that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for joining me today. And remember what I said about the gun stuff. Please, if you see anybody posting in the media, be it, from Chris Cuomo to Jake Tapper to Maddow, anybody like that, or even the networks themselves posting about it, ask them to interview the person that gave the person or sold the person the gun. I want to see that start happening. I think that's got to be part of the conversation. And it'll be illuminating across the board. So, and again, I want to thank all the trolls for coming, because you have boosted our numbers and really given us that leg up that we needed in the algorithm. It's been really impressive. Like, I look at the analytics, and I have to say that the trolls have fundamentally played I mean, obviously our regulars are the crucial part of it, but they're the tipping point. They get us over that edge and boost us up in the search engines, and I want to appreciate that. I want you to know how much I appreciate it, because quite frankly, the rest of us want to be here, so we're enjoying ourselves, and you're miserable. And so there's kind of it's like a win-win. It's friggin' amazing. So, and thank you for the Zoltan. That's good stuff. And I will see you guys tomorrow at the regular time. All right, take care of yourself and take care of somebody else, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.